Hi, and welcome to the Demand Gen Summit. I'm Jenny Young, your host. I run marketing at Signals. Just to give you a little bit of background on your host, we are a digital marketing platform that helps companies identify digital buying signals for potential buyers, helping you to listen, interpret, and orchestrate for when those potential buyers are coming to your site. If you're interested, you can learn more at getsignals.ai. I'm very excited to have everyone join us at the Demand Gen Summit. This is the 8th biannual event, and it's one of our most diverse events yet. We are anticipating 2,000 to 3,000 attendees today, with people attending from all over the world, including all 50 states and multiple countries. To get started, we would like to recognize the winners for the Demand Gen Summit. We'll go ahead and get started there. We want to congratulate the nominees. We had over 70 individuals who were nominated by the community, and we had nearly 2,000 votes by the community to select our winners. For the first category, we have our thought leaders. We'd like to recognize Dan Swift, Dale Dupree, Samantha McKenna, Sam Jacobs, and Jen Allen Newth. They were by far the top winners in this category, and we'd like to congratulate them. We also have our Demand Gen strategists with Reagan D., Whitney Parker Mitchell, Wendy Turner Williams, Melanie Faley, and Sangram Vadri. We have our Demand Gen architects. Our 5 winners for this category include Kyle Lacey, Mark Kosoglow, Kyle Coleman, Tushar Patel, and Hillary Headley. Last but not least, we have our practitioners. We would like to recognize Jordan Tucker, Zoe Hartsfield, Darren McKee, Jill Rowley, and Lori Richardson. We are also very excited to share our agenda. Following our introductions, we will have our keynote featuring Heather Zinzak. Heather, who is a true Demand Gen expert with 25 years of marketing and tech leadership. She has leadership roles in BCG, Domo, and now Alphasense, and sits on multiple boards. She will be joined by Dave Elkington, founder of Inside Sales and Utah's Silicon Slopes. He will further introduce her more when the keynote gets started. And they will be kind of talking about the current trends and answering questions on what is the future of B2B. This keynote will last between 45 and 50 minutes, and we'll transition into our live sessions. If live sessions aren't your jam, you can join us at the Demand Gen Summit, where we will be releasing tracks on demand every hour at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have amazing speakers, so make sure to take the time and check out their content. They put a lot of time and effort into making the content relevant and to really help sales and marketing leaders with their Demand Gen strategies. We're super excited to be doing this event. We do love your feedback, so feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. Tell us what we can do better, or if there is a speaker that you would like us to feature at one of our upcoming events. We do host 4 events every single year, so stay on the lookout. Our next event will be on August 14th. That is on AI revenue. It's really focused to help sales and marketing leaders know how to implement AI into their current strategies. To register for this event, just look us up on LinkedIn. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Dave to introduce Heather and kick off our keynote. Over to you, Dave.
Welcome, everybody. We're super excited to kick off the 5th annual Demand Gen Summit, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome Heather Zinzak, longtime friend, brilliant marketer, in my opinion, one of the leading marketers in B2B marketing, really worldwide. I'll give a little bit of background, and but before we do that, this is one of the largest events we've held. We generally see 2,000 to 3,000 attendees. We think we're going to exceed that, so we're very, very excited to welcome everybody. And we actually have people that are live in from all over the world, from Australia, from Europe, from Africa, from China. So this is, again, one of our largest events. Very, very excited. And I think it really goes to the value and the importance of demand gen and the evolving nature of I think the industry and what I think sales and marketing leaders are being challenged with today. So thank you all for joining today. Little background on Heather again. Heather started her career in finance and in consulting. So BCG, Booz Allen, she was one of those people, one of those smart people that knew more than me. And then she came to the good side and got involved in marketing. So the way we met is she was the CMO of a company called Domo, a public company. She helped them, go through that process. And then once again, she did it at a company called Pluralsight and really kind of revolutionized, at one point, data and data analytics. And then later she helped, I would say, revolutionize education and digital education. She then went into a place where she was, a board member, and she and I sit on a board together. It's one of my favorite boards, if I must be honest. I love all my boards equally, but there's no prejudice on my part. But it's super fun to be, to learn from Heather. And then most recently, this is hot off the press. Excited. I don't think I'm the person to announce it, but I'm going to pretend that I am. So she just came out of board retirement and now is in a full-time gig at a company called Alphasense. They've been around for quite a while, based in New York. One of the hottest companies right now in the world. They're growing like crazy, and they're a data platform that is using a pristine data set that's unique to them, and they're helping companies understand, both financial companies and consulting companies, people who really need a very, very deep dive understanding and analysis of data. That's public data, SEC data, financial data, and her platform is truly unique and is absolutely on a tear. So again, we are privileged to have you join us. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes. Give us one thing. Thank you for, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here, Dave. I always love conversations with you. So this is going to be fun.
We're going to have some fun today. No question of that. First, just give us a little bit of background. I tried to pitch Alphasense, but I think it'd be good for everybody to understand the context and really where you're coming from.
Yeah. It's funny. As you know, I did about 4 years of just board service, and I didn't think I'd ever go back into an operator role. And this was such an exciting opportunity. It brought me off the sidelines. Yeah. So Alphasense is an AI platform that's really focused on market insights. So if you are an individual at a company really trying to understand a lot about companies in the marketplace, public companies, private companies, and you are, if anybody who's ever been in that, like I did this at BCG, there's so many places to find data. And so it's an AI platform. They've been doing this for more than a decade. Started out with machine learning on top of this really pristine, amazing data set of everything you would ever want to know about companies from a qualitative perspective, and now have generative AI on top of that to bring you back all the insights that you need much easier than someone having to go out and research and analyze on their own. So it's been really fun to jump back into the AI space, because I think this is a huge revolution for every industry, but it's going to be a really exciting one for tech as well.
So I'm excited to unpack a lot of the concepts that you described, because I think a lot of the marketers and sales leaders and the people that are joining us today, there's a lot of buzzwords and some of the words we're saying, but there's meat and meaning behind a lot of these same concepts. And so I really want to dig into it. But let's start off with and look, we don't have as much time as I'd like. I think we're going to be around 45 minutes or so. But I really want to get into your insights on what you think is happening in the market. So we just came off of, we're in a weird, the macro condition, the economy. We're in a presidential election year. I don't know if rates are going up or if they're going down. I don't know if more EVs are being made or if they're moving to hybrids. I don't understand if China's strong or if they're weak. I don't know if we're at war or if we're not at war. We're in the most crazy in macro environment that I can remember in a long time. I mean, granted, this did, we're coming off of COVID, so I say that with a little bit of cynicism. But what's going on from the marketer or the sales leader's point of view? What's happening right now from your as you see it?
I mean, I think we've talked about this before, but I think the principles of marketing and selling, go-to-market motions, stay the same. And they have always been. You have to be able to have a fantastic product that people love. You have to be able to identify who would buy that product. You have to be able to tell the storytelling around the value that product provides customers. You have to go and find the watering holes where those potential customers live. And you have to be able to communicate with them in a way that they can hear you. You have to enable your sales team. You have to build customer relationships, and you have to give your sales teams opportunities to have time with customers to build those relationships. So all of the basics, I think, of selling and marketing, especially to the enterprise, haven't changed. It's just the how. And, yes, this is a crazy time. And I'll give a nod to the only reason I think this time might be crazier. But the truth is, listen, you and I've lived through so many different times that we thought were the craziest, from, the financial crisis, from honestly in the 90s, the internet, think about how much that changed lives, to the advent of social media in the early 2000s, to 2008 financial crisis, COVID. We all thought these were such unprecedented, crazy times. And we all think that now too. But through all of that, and even today, the basic principles of go-to-market don't change. It's the how. And I think the only thing that's truly unique not unique, but even more so to today, that makes us maybe a little different, is the speed at which it's changing. So when you look at AI and what's happened over the last 18 months, it's crazy how much change has occurred during that time. So, it's just, for me, it's business as usual. You've got to deal with all the stuff coming at you, but it's just coming faster.
Okay. So look, I want to go back to, I mean, you say some of these concepts as if they're so blatant and obvious, but you're we just need to do normal marketing principles, like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, okay, where's my pencil? I got to write all this stuff down. So just for everybody, you rattle off 5, maybe 7. I depending on the way you count, there's either 5 or 7 key principles. So I'm going to have you just reiterate them, because I think, it is kind of a calming thing. And I've interviewed several people who've suggested the transition from Q4 last year to Q1 this year has been really rough from a pipeline creation and a demand creation. But what you're suggesting is we need to not get so lost in maybe some of the tools or the data or those things, but focus on these principles. So share your principles one more time.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what they were. I mean, I kind of rattled them off, so they're probably going to be a little bit.
No, but concepts.
They're going to be a little bit different. I mean, and I've thought a lot about this. When I made a decision to go to a new company, what bowled me over that I know I can do this. This is a once in a lifetime. Is you got to have a product that your customers love. Yeah. So that's super important. Yeah. And I'm getting. The AI
thinks the AI gave you a thumbs up. That's great.
You're gonna figure out how to do that. So product that your customers love. You have to figure out who you're going to be selling that product to. Who's your ideal customer? What value they're going to get out of that product. You have to be a storyteller. How are you going to tell the story to that customer of this value? You have to figure out where that customer is. What are their watering holes? Yeah. And then you have to be able to deliver that message in a way in those watering holes that they can hear you. And as an example, COVID, there was no in-person watering holes. So, things happen in the times that massively change all of these, the how on all these pieces, but you still had to find the watering holes where your customers were, and you still had to communicate with them. You have to enable your sales team. You have to create customer relationships. And you have to give sales the space and the opportunities to create those relationships. Because relationship selling, especially if you're selling true enterprise, you're selling big deals, it's still, from the beginning of time to today, I had this really impressive sales rep at Oracle back when I was a product manager, and I was like, Dave, you're making so much money, and I'm the one convincing these people to buy. And he's like, no. By the time I bring you in to do the demo, they've already decided they want to buy from me. They're buying from me. Like relationships
buy from people. They don't buy from computers or AI.
They buy from people. So you have to figure out how to create that. And, like COVID's a great example that the relationship building changed. How you could do that changed during those times. So, always the how is going to change, but I think the basic principles stay the same.
So let's unpack a bunch of these concepts. The first one is the speed you described. I have a theory, and I want you to either agree and laud me with brilliance or challenge me and call me an idiot, and they're both good. I think technology is increasing the rate of the tools that are now better and more available. And I'll give you an example. 18 months ago, OpenAI introduced, ChatGPT, and everyone's, mind was blown. It's like, oh my gosh, like the amount of content we can create, the quality of our content, all of this. And then at this point, we're at a stage where everybody is doing it. So it's kind of like, we're a little cynical to this content place right now. But at the same time, I just read the amount of computing that's about to become available in the next, call it 12 to 36 months, is going to dwarf, and some crazy multiple. So NVIDIA is introducing a new AI processing chip called, I think, Blackwell, which is supposed to be 100 times more capable than the current AI chips that are basically driving our current AI, revolution. And at the same time, companies like Microsoft are building a $3 billion data center that will add all of these Blackwell chips. You've got X.AI, Elon Musk's company, just raised, I believe, $6 billion on an $18 billion valuation to build these data centers. So if we think the current rate of change is interesting or exciting, I think the next, call it 24 months, I don't even think we know what to expect in the next 24 months. So I think your point is understand these principles, anchor on these principles, and adapt like crazy as these different tools and techniques and the how, as you described, changes. What do you agree? Do you disagree? Like what's driving this rate of change from your standpoint?
Yeah, so many things to dig in on that. The first one is if you're, I got two teenage kids at home or I have three teenage kids at home, but two of them think that they're day traders. They're constantly buying stock. And so what I told them the other day is like the stock to buy is energy stocks, because with this massive computing, AI is going to need massive computing power. Like I'm at an AI company and we just had a board meeting this week and we talk about the computing, like the cost of computing. Like it's something that you look at from a financial business perspective. And there's probably very few SaaS companies. Yes, you looked at your AWS cost, but it's a whole different ballpark now with AI. So the energy, so the computing power is going to become massive, but the energy to serve that is going to be massive. So I would tell my sons, like, invest in energy stocks. I don't know if that's really, I'm terrible. Like that's not my trade.
The United States just increased its power consumption in the last 12 months. Again, finance people out there, if I'm wrong, just pretend I'm right. But I think it's from the power grid went up 6% more than the previous year, 6% more demand, and it's not designed to support it. So we're in a bit of a precarious place from a support infrastructure standpoint. So I think
it's going to get worse. Like we used to think we had Moore's law, but Moore's law can't even keep up with how fast computing power and the energy needed. Like I think the NVIDIAs and others of the world are just going to keep upping the computing game, and energy is going to be the big one. But that's just a side comment on that. But I do think that AI or the changes going on right now are faster than I've seen in my career. Change is happening faster and you have to adapt faster. But listen, the best marketers, I think, and the people who've done the best at marketing are technology savvy marketers. Like my first job out of college, I was a developer. Like I coded. I love systems. I still get in there. In my new job, I just did a giant systems review, and the team was, I think, horrified that the CMO was asking the questions that I was.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, like I was like, did you look at the? Do we do that? What's the integration here?" Like a typical company, probably 50 to 100 million, somewhere there. Marketing could easily have 30. I think the average is 45 different technologies in their tech stack. And it's not maybe at some companies it's because they just bought a bunch of stuff they don't need, but no, it's because technology is really the best way to market. Like and using technology effectively as a marketer gives you a competitive advantage massively. And so now you need to figure out AI is the technology for marketers, and how do you leverage that for competitive advantage?
So let me ask you a question. And I know a lot of the people listening, whether you're a marketer or you're a salesperson or a sales manager or leader, are getting their technology budgets cut pretty aggressively right now. People are getting forced to consolidate tools. How do you empower and enable these people to go back to their leadership and say, this could be a problem? It's an interesting question, right?
It could be a problem. Listen, when I came on at the company I'm on, they were like, hey, the market, we're going into planning season, and the marketing budget, the first proposal that the former team put together is, X million over budget. And they're like, and I was like, I'll fix it. Like, and I did. I got it down, and we're going to do what we're going to do. And so I would say, like, you know what? I do think, and this is why one of the first things I did was a tech stack reviews. I do think there's stuff we don't use or need or use the way we should. We thought it was going to promise something, and maybe that solution really does deliver that at some customers, but we don't have the processes in place to leverage it. And so I don't necessarily think the position I always like to take in this is, if I want something, I do two things. Like, if I want budget for a system that I don't have, like, so I want to go buy something that I don't have, I either figure out the true ROI in this, but I use real data for this. Like, it's not like somebody's ROI calculator. Like, I look at like how much pipeline we could create, or how much more efficient that pipeline could be, like, and come back with like, and usually if you can test the process without the technology first and show like, hey, we're doing this with win-loss data, and it's making our win rate that much more effective. Imagine if we could automate that by using a win-loss tool. And I don't know if that's true. I'm just making this up.
Right.
So you bring in data, like, to show like the places where we had win-loss data, the win rate of that rep when they're up against it went up 2 percentage points. And so extrapolate that when we can automate it and have it for everything. So you come in with real data. And the second thing you do when you want something is you make sure other teams are screaming for it. So, when one of the companies I was advising, I came in, and a person in marketing really, really wanted this sales enablement tool to push out content to the sales team better. So like, the sales team isn't using our content, they're unhappy, da, da, da. And when you dug beneath the surface, when I talked to sales enablement, they're like, it's not the tool. Like, we would love to have the tool and we will scream for the tool, but it's the content. Like, we don't like the content. So we went in and fixed the content. And then the sales enablement team actually then they went and pitched to the CFO and to IT that we needed this content delivery tool. So somebody else
somebody else pitching for you, or a group. So two things. I actually love this. So two more takeaways. One, prove it with a tangible ROI. Start small, and ideally prove the concept with process, not tech. And then once you've proven it, then go add the tech.
Exactly.
That's pretty brilliant. And then the second thing is, get a committee to demand or scream for the solution. So it's not just you asking for it, but it's everybody around you. Really the recipients of the outcome of the solution.
It is, and usually for marketing, it's sales.
Yeah.
So like, if you go to your BDR team, if the BDR to SDR, whatever you want to call them, the account development, business development team, if they, if that team doesn't live in marketing, and they know that really, I'm just going to make something up. They know that really great organic leads from social, like social viral leads that organically come to the website, are the best leads, because it's usually people in the buying cycle, and they're, busting us to give them more. Then I'm saying, hey, look, I need this social tool it's going to increase that. And the head of BDR will gripe to finance that they need more of these leads and look how more effective. And that's better than me going to finance and saying, I need or IT or whoever does your budget for your systems, like I need a better social monitoring tool. Because they're going to be like, no, you don't. And the other tip I will give every head of marketing, if you need money for systems, the first place I would tell you is to go do a systems audit. Go see if all the different things in your tech stack, how many licenses you've bought, how many have actually been assigned, and how many you're actually using and how often they're using it. And I guarantee you, whatever it is you want to buy, if you'll find enough money.
There's so much money sitting there. When I ran one of my previous companies, I would require, this is a crazy, like, you're not going to believe me, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would require a monthly company-wide audit of tech. And you'd be like, okay, it can't change that fast. It did. It's crazy. We would see, not just usage. Somehow somebody would buy a new thing with a corporate credit card, and then someone's like, oh, I want that also, because it's under their, their budget amount. And so, but all of a sudden it spreads throughout the organization, and we've got, 200 licenses of this thing in like 90 days. And it's like, wait a second, I never even saw this. And it's on, 45 people's different credit cards. And I'm like, wait a second, how did we just get into this? So there is a lot of money sitting in back.
And if your deal size, this is the other thing is, when I was at Pluralsight, and I probably shouldn't share this, but I'm going to, our average deal size, believe it or not, when I first started, we were in like 54% of the Fortune 500, but we were only like 3% penetrated on our TAM, like our buyers, not the whole company, but like 3 to 4%. And our average deal size was like just under 10,000.
Yeah.
And if we had more than 10,000, it was usually different POs, like different things, because guess what from an audit committee perspective, the amount that you have to go through $10,000. So it was exactly that. All these people buying the solution because they really wanted it, but they didn't want to have to go through the headache and that, if you multiply that at every company on MarTech stack, or sales, it's pretty significant.
No, it adds up. You also threw a little grenade in there that I'm going to follow up on that is provocative, where you said if the SDR reports to market, SDR team or the appointment setting team reports to marketing or sales, where should it report?
So I will tell you, there is not a place it should report.
Oh, come on.
No, I really don't. So I think it's like almost everything in life, it's based on humans.
Yeah.
So I think officially, and I could get this wrong, it's like 60%, 65%. You would know better than I. It reports into sales.
That's right.
And 35-ish, is that right? It reports into marketing. So when I was at Oracle, it was in sales, wildly effective. One of the best SDR trading grounds on the planet was Oracle back then. I assume it still is, but I don't know. SAP, it reported into marketing. Yeah. And at Domo and Pluralsight, it reported into sales when I got there, and they moved it to me. And then at some point I moved it back. At this Alphasense, when I joined, it was split. Inbound was in marketing and outbound was in sales, which was a disaster because we needed to give the good leads to the people who are close to the sales rep. So one of the first things I did, which, everybody was like, a lot of people in their career kingdom buildings. I came in, I was like, oh, no. I met the head of the outbound SDR team, and she was phenomenal. Awesome. And I said, we're moving it all to her, and it's all going to sales. And so here's I'm going to get a little more to this. I could talk about this for hours. Here's the reasons we moved it to me in marketing. The couple times that we have, we had great relationships between the SDR and the AE, which that's the most important relationship in the building. And they were already built and really strong, but we didn't have great alignment between the marketing leads that were coming in. And we thought, if we can move the SDR team to marketing and we can increase conversion rate on this money we're spending from marketing lead to opportunity. I love that I keep giving myself thumbs up.
AI, by the way, this is AI gone wrong.
Right? From market, and and I'm somebody who talks to my hand, so this is hard for me. So from marketing lead to opportunity, that was one reason. The other reason is at both of those places, I'm a very data-driven, process-oriented, look at the numbers, change things,
Yeah.
And my sales leader, actually both my sales leaders places, some of the best sales leaders I've ever worked with, but they were whale hunters, relationship builders. They could call a forecast like nobody, but they did not want to deal with the data and the analytics and the process. And I was like, oh, I love this. So
Totally.
it kind of depends
People.
on the persona of who's leading it. And then the reason I have moved it back at certain places, there's two reasons. If you can get the marketing BDR alignment tight to where the marketing money is performing well, the reason to keep it in sales are twofold. A couplefold. One is the relationship with the AE. If that ever starts to disintegrate, it's got to be back in sales.
Yeah.
Two, I believe in the farm team, that you hire SDRs. Like I ran into this adorable SDR. I shouldn't say that because she would be offended if she listened to this, but this awesome SDR in the bathroom the other day. And she was like, I asked her,
let's play it out.
yeah. I said, are you an AE? Like we're kind of chit chatting as we're washing our hands. I was like, are you an AE? And she's like, no, I'm an SDR, but I will be one day. And I said, you will. And so the farm team, and if you're in marketing, it's hard to hire people that can believe they're going to move over to sales into an AE role. So I think those are the farm team and the relationship with the AEs are really important reasons that you could move it or keep it in sales. It just depends on where your company is and who's leading it.
And the thing I actually love about what you said, because I've seen it both ways, and you're exactly right. It just depends on the team, the culture. But my favorite thing is moving it. Because when you move a team, it gets one set of advantages and learnings and culture from one leader. And then as you move it to another leader, it doesn't replace it. It actually expands its capability. And so most people don't do it, but it's actually something a good mentor of mine. And again, I'd say a general learning is don't ever get too static that there's a way to do a thing. Like one of my leaders in the past ran customer success for me. And then I had him ultimately run the BD team, which is not the same thing, but it brought a new way of thinking to the team. So that's kind of what you're suggesting.
It is. I mean, we moved it more because we had problems in an area that we knew would be fixed better in one organization than the other, or we knew we had a leader that was better to like I was more data driven and process driven. And so I was like, I'm going to dig in on this. So, I don't know if it was moving it. I don't know if we necessarily got new and innovative ideas. I would hope so. I do think when you're grooming leaders, it's wonderful to have them do different parts of the company. So I'm a big believer in that. And it's also just great for employees to see that they have a better career path. So I do think that, but I also think it's really funny because early in my career, I was not like this. And I wish I could gift to everybody this mindset now, of that it's not about kingdom building. Like it's usually better to give something away. Like, and then if somebody taps you to do something, it's the right, instead of you trying to get something, it's the right thing if they tap you to do it. So
that's a hard thing for people to probably hear, because that is very counterintuitive in today's corporate culture. I would suggest
it is, but it's honestly, if I could give everybody that skill set, I have it now at Alphasense. Like I said, when I came on, like I gave the BDR team away, and now our like we're able to do so much more, 50% more in pipeline.
Wow.
And not with different resources, like. And it's, so there's so much, like, and it's because it should be there. Like
with your ego, it's about the outcome and the productivity.
And
so
maybe that's because I've been through a couple IPOs and I'm like, I just want my stock.
I just want to win. Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah, that's right. So, okay, I want to pivot you a little bit back to a previous part of our conversation where you talked about the different tools and advantages you can get from tools. I would love to know what are some of your favorite tool categories without necessarily naming. And if there's a few products, sure. Like, we can do whatever we want, but what have you found that really works, and what should people be thinking about? So, I'll throw out, just, if you don't have a CRM in your company, go get one.
Come on. That's like saying,
table stakes.
if you want to have dinner, you need a plate and some silverware. Like, You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could eat off the table, but no, you really can't.
You shouldn't.
So-
And so again, just to kind of prime the pump here, just to warm it up, you need a CRM. And look, there's some very small companies that, you feel like, man, I'm barely surviving. I can't spend the money. I would say you can't afford not to spend the money. Like that should.
There's cheap. You can migrate. Like, listen, there's different of all these things that you absolutely positively have to have that are table stakes and foundational elements. There's vendors for every stage with you.
Yeah.
From, one of the companies that I'm on the board of is Thrive, and they're for really, really small businesses like, Joe's Pizza and Betty
Yeah.
Dog Walker. Like it's true Main Street America. And it's a CRM system. And they've done it in a way that even without having anybody at your company that knows, because a lot of these people don't know boo about technology. They might be lucky to have a nephew that can show them how to use their iPhone. But like and they figured out a way, 20 whatever bucks a month. Like there's
for every stage of your company, there are the right tools. So what are the table stakes tools? Let's start there.
No, I mean, obviously CRM, you have to be able to email. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this could take forever, but I mean, it depends on what stage you're at. But I mean, for sure, you have to have a CRM and a marketing automation. Like and then it's all the things that go as you start to use those. So here's the interesting thing. It's like, it's like when I used to read my kids the book, When You Give a Mouse a Cookie.
Yeah.
He's going to want a glass of milk. And then with a glass of milk, he's going to need a napkin. And like once you start using some of these, you're going to be like, well, it's not enough to have marketing automation. Like I really need lead scoring. Well, it's really not enough to have lead scoring. I need a better routing tool. Or then if you're in, using a CRM, you're gonna be like, well, I really need better. Like it's really hard to assign out these territories. Or, oh my God, the forecasting is not what I want. Like once you start using them, you'll start at like, oh, I really need a personalization tool on my website. Like, it's not enough just to have like, we've been on a, whatever website and we've been using Google Analytics for free. And we actually really need a true, test and target type of tool. Like, so it's like, it's the give a mouse a cookie. Like I think start with the basics for sales and marketers with a CRM, and definitely it has to include a marketing automation. Obviously you need an ERP system because you got to be able to take money. I mean, so, and then as soon as you start using those, you're going to want,
you'll know what's next. Okay. Yeah. And which, by the way, that's a key principle. Don't buy too much too fast because it is a temptation. So get one or two tools, make them work, get a few more. Okay, now let's fast forward all the way to what is your highest impact demand gen solution?
That's hard to say because
don't think about it. Just throw one out and then we'll go.
Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, like the best leads always are leads that come in SEO. Yeah. So your website, everything on your website, whether it's website optimization or, website, everything that creates on the website or, conversion rate optimization, like everything around that, like those are the best performing leads for everybody because you're catching somebody and so then if you're going to double down on that strategy, it might be like a content management system because you're really thinking about the content, Just in terms of tools, if everything's working pretty well, I'll just give a little one out there. Like I'll throw out something random. Maybe people want chat does so well. Like it's annoying as hell sometimes when you're on a website. It is, but if you can do chat is some of the absolute best leads in a B2B business organization. And the funny thing is when you first start using chat, your BDR team or SDR team is usually hesitant to want to staff it because like, shit, I don't want to be at my desk. Like, I don't want to be at my desk or whatever it is who takes leads in from that. And then everybody's fighting over those rotations. Because
once somebody gets it, it's done.
It's done. So, and those are honestly, those two things I just threw out, it's the same source of leads. It's people that have come to your website and you're in the buying process. So
now, okay. What is the thing? What is the thing that is not as effective? Yeah. Again, I'm in a hotel room picking up my son, by the way, in college this week. So it's like, you do what you can do.
You do what you do.
Yeah, you do what you do. What are some of the things that you'd maybe warn people about to kind of be a little weary of maybe its complexity? I mean, it can be, a lot of these things are alluring and they're tempting. But then when you get into it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is Pandora's box. Like the amount of effort needed to get the value out of this is a bit of a risky one.
I don't have a category I feel that way about. I feel that way about every category that you don't have all the stakeholders.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like listen, I love account-based marketing. Like it's been a tool that I've used so effectively so many times in my career. And you know what? When I first came to Alphasense, we didn't have an account-based marketing tool. And I was like, yeah, we're not ready for that. Like we need to walk and really build how we work with the sales team, because if sales isn't really bought in on the account-based marketing tool and going to take the engagement data and really leverage it and use it, it's just not worth it. And if they're not going to help us figure out what the different accounts are in the tiers, and this is just going to be a marketing thing, like it's a disaster. No, we're buying one right now. I've been there long enough, a couple months. I'm like, yeah, we need to start this motion. But
yeah.
I honestly, like, I could say that on almost anything, that if you don't have, like the example I gave you on the sales enablement tool before, a win-loss tool, if you don't have buy-in, it's never going to get implemented right. Nobody's going to pay attention. It's never going to give you the ROI you want. It's going to just be a pain in the ass. The IT department's going to be like, we're not letting you buy anything else because you wasted so much of our time with that one. So, I would say there's not a particular category. It's only buy things that the team, the whole team, not just marketing, but especially if beyond marketing needs to buy in, like if sales or sales enablement, like that's my bigger thing, is wait until everybody is screaming for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So don't try and get ahead. Okay. We don't have a ton more time, but I've got a couple of, I think, interesting questions. So look around the corner. We just alluded that you've suggested a few things. Data is kind of everything. So what should people be doing in terms of like preparing for that? Like if they're like, okay, AI is going to be an impactful thing in the next 24 months, and data cleanliness and data quality and data quantity is important. How should marketers and sales leaders be thinking about their data?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that a little bit of a different way.
Okay.
It's been interesting and I'll get there. I'm going to come around the horn to the answer. But when you think about AI, listen, every marketer is struggling with, how can they leverage AI? And truthfully, the best way I would tell marketers, unless you have an amazing vision and strategy of your own, if you happen to be one of those people that are out front visionary, run with it.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure what to do, you're going to leverage AI through your vendors, because listen, every MarTech vendor right now, go look at their websites. I guarantee AI is somewhere on the front page, even if they don't have anything related to AI. Everybody's, talking about it and doing it. So I think when you think about data on that, here's kind of the importance of data around AI. The first one is, when I think about AI, now working for an AI company, you can either have really amazing technology on AI, and ChatGPT changed the world for us. Like it really did. And they're out front. And there's probably going to be one or two players that are going to win on the technology, and the rest of us are just going to leverage that technology. The next thing is really around the data. And this is where I think it's the most important, and how companies need to think. And it's not just your data. First, when you're using an AI, they're learning on that data. Like they're learning how, they're learning everything AI perspective on that data. So this is one thing I love about Alphasense, is we have a very pristine data model that you can click through actually anything that we give you and see, like, did this come from the SEC? Did this come, like it's, and most 99% of the language models out there are not that way. So you don't know what you're getting back. And that's where you get things like hallucinations and really poor content. And as marketers, you need to be really careful with solutions you buy that have an AI solution. You need to ask the questions about their language model that AI is on top of. Because if it's like the ChatGPT large language model, I would be really hesitant. And then the third piece of that is, we're now starting to see a ton of companies come into this, and Alphasense does this as well, is bringing in your own data and combining it with the external data, so you get really great information out of that. And so your own data has to be pristine. So if you're a sales team that's going to be leveraging AI on top of your sales channels, like it needs to be really good data.
Okay.
and so
Time out. What you just did is you just said sales reps need to actually have good data. We should end. If you're a sales rep and you're listening, we love you, but you're not good at keeping your data clean. But it's so important. Like, and it's not just sales reps, it's marketers, because how many times do we have crappy content out on our website? Here's the problem. If we have bad data or incomplete data or wrong data in our CRM, and we have bad content, incorrect content, oftentimes we're like, oh, we have these blogs, they're 5 years old, they're not accurate anymore, but who cares? Google's, we've taken them off our index. Google's not going to go search these things. But the problem is the AI will. The AI very well could.
And that's if you're using an AI tool that leverages your data, your infrastructure, your website. Like we have an AI product that we've kind of put together ourselves at Alphasense that's purely for marketers, that goes over our whole website, and it will create different types of small pieces of content based on the content that's already on our website. But it doesn't use anything external. A lot of your vendors that are giving you AI capabilities and writing things for you, they're using like the ChatGPT, they're big, large language models.
Right.
So there's two data questions you want to ask, like what language model is this learning on and leveraging for external data? And you want to make sure that your internal data is pristine as well. And those are both really important pieces.
Well, and I would say, I mean, there's lots of takeaways from what you've shared, but one of them, I think maybe one of the most important is, like, if you do nothing else, really get ahead of your data. Like really get on top of your CRM data, your marketing automation data, your website data, like your internal data, because at the end of the day, you also kind of dropped a truth bomb back from the 90s. I'm bringing that word back. Shows you how old we are. Like the technology, a little bit of background. The technology, the algorithms are not particularly innovative. Many of them have been around for many years, like machine learning and the statistical models. Now there's some, with GPT, there's some evolutionary things, but they're largely neural nets. They're large language models that have been around and they're evolving. So the technology is probably not the most innovative thing. What really is innovative is your data. And so if you have unique data, that's going to give you an advantage, but your data is only as good. So again, you said, and again, you heard it here first, don't get enamored with the technology, focus on your data, focus on what you do with that technology.
Yeah, because I think there are going to be some big winners in the technology. There already are some big winners in the technology space, but is there going to be 50 companies that constantly have the best AI technology? No, there might be 10. But you know what there's going to be? There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of companies that leverage AI technology. And the big thing that they have that's different is, what is that technology? What data is that? Because the AI trains itself. And so you have to be pretty careful with that. And those are some good questions to ask, because otherwise you could end up with content that has hallucinations, that isn't strong, that has false. I mean, we've all seen all the examples in the news. And so you have to be careful on your external. And if you're going to put it on your internal, you have to be careful that your internal is really good too.
Yep. Okay. Last question for you. Well, second to last question. Okay. Look around the corner and use your crystal ball. What do you see the next 12 months? So, in the next 12 months or end of Q1 2025, what are we going to be talking about as go-to-market leaders?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either. Curious.
I never get the crystal ball, but here's the thing is, I think we're going to be through a presidential election. So either way, we'll be out the other side and everything will settle. I think the economy is coming back. I think the IPO markets are going to open up. It's by mid-year 25. Yeah. I think that then the thing that follows after all that is bigger corporate budgets. We're going to start to open up, and we're already starting to see in the private valuations, we did a shift to where growth wasn't as king and profitability was just as important. And, you constantly heard investors talk about profitable growth. And I just still think profitable growth is the way to be. But I think you're going to start to see growth. You're already starting to see growth come back more because, listen, a couple points of growth are going to get you even more EBITDA down the road. So because it just expands and expands, it's exponential versus the EBITDA savings. So I think we're going to see that's going to eventually bleed into the public markets to where, and then is what's going to happen is you're going to start to see public companies start to invest more in growth, which is great for B2B salespeople. I don't know if it'll be by Q1 2025, but if we get through an election cycle, if we get the economy continuing to do well, if we have the IPO markets open up, if we see the growth continue to start to becoming back in fashion, then you'll start to see that in the public companies too, and they'll start investing for growth, which is great for all of us selling B2B.
That's actually, for not knowing, that's a lot of insight. And I think my hunch tells me you're right. My hunch tells me, so not that I
might also just be hopeful. I might just be hopeful.
I like the answer. So again, I think we're going to, what you're saying is end of election, growth will become more important. Economy will continue to improve. Maybe interest rates will come down. B2B buying will come back. Public markets, which then this whole machine starts going, much more effectively. Because I spoke with in a previous event, Henry Schuck, who's the CEO of ZoomInfo, and he shared the last year or two have been one of the most difficult software selling environments in the history of software. But it does feel like we're beginning to come out of that. It's an interesting.
We are, and like I said, I did sit on 5 boards. I'm rolling off some of them now that I'm taking this full-time job, and every single one of them their growth rate was impacted by when on the B2B was hard. And you know what? Back to what I said at the beginning on the principles. The company I'm at now, yes, they were minorly impacted, but they're still growing like crazy. So if you still have a great product in a space that people want to buy, so it comes back a little bit to product market fit. And that's why like you see the AI platform multiples are just higher than general SaaS. But I think if growth starts to become valued again, you'll start to see big public companies, even if the stock market doesn't rebound, they'll be rewarded for investing in growth, which means they'll spend money.
Okay. You guys, you've heard it here first from the one and only Heather Zinzak. If people, my true last question, if people do want to get a hold of you, have follow-up questions, what's the best way? Is it LinkedIn? Is it,
Yeah, I think
how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way. Follow me on LinkedIn. You can send me a DM. I'm not super fast on it, but I think LinkedIn for the general public is probably the best way to catch me. Just give me a couple days response time.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you again. Amazing takeaways. We're going to actually take all of your points. We're going to put them in a brief white paper for people. So if you're interested, come back to the demandgensummit.com. You can download it for free. But amazing. Thank you again so much for coming on. Like really, really insightful stuff. And frankly, I'm actually feeling kind of positive. I'm like, okay, life is good. The economy's going to improve. Like I'm feeling better. So thank you.
If I can achieve that today, Dave, then I've checked
that one thing. No, amazing. All right.
Thanks for having me. I always love conversations with you. They're always fun.
Cool. It's really fun. There's lots of additional tracks through the rest of the morning. Please make sure you stay tuned in. And again, reach out to Heather. She's one of the smartest, one of the most brilliant marketing leaders in the market today. So thanks again.
Thank you, Heather and Dave. I mean, so many great things were covered in the keynote. Some of my key takeaways were the core marketing principles are remaining constant in B2B marketing and sales. Ultimately, the core principles still hold true. To be adaptable and find opportunities to adapt within technology. And I also love that they really emphasize the importance of data and making sure that your data is clean. So many great takeaways. If you guys caught anything that I didn't mention, feel free to leave it in the comments, either on YouTube or LinkedIn. Also, Dave had mentioned at the end of the keynote to keep an eye out for a white paper. We do have an ebook available that is focused around the main topics discussed during the keynote. It's called Is GTM Broken? And it covers core principles around budget, tools, and strategies. If you're looking to download it, please just come to the Demand Gen Summit to get your copy. Starting shortly in about 5 minutes, we will also be releasing the 10 a.m. blocks. These will be featuring speakers including Dan Swift, CEO and founder of Momentum, Jake Rennie, co-founder of Revenue Reimagined, Annie Mossbatcher, sorry, I'm saying her name wrong, co-founder of Decoded Strategies, Olga, I'm going to say your name wrong too. I'm so sorry. CMO of SalesScreen, Sabi, he's the director of demand generation at SalesScreen, and then Declan Mulkeen, CMO of Strategic ABM. They put together a lot of great content that's really focused around account-based marketing and engagement, and how you guys can really leverage using demand gen in Q2. Before we get to our next speaker, Steve Schmidt, I also want to just congratulate the nominees one last time. We really had an outstanding number of nominees with over 70 nominees who were selected by their peers as well as voted on. To see those full winners, you can also access that at the Demand Gen Summit. Let's see. And we'll just be starting shortly to have Steve Schmidt. So hold with us. Great. Thank you guys for holding. I'm going to go ahead and add Steve in and give him a brief introduction, and then the time will be his. Hey, Steve. Thanks for
Hi.
joining.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know Steve, he has over 25 years experience in B2B sales. He is the CEO of Magnetic, which is a content-led sales consultancy that helps B2B CEOs, founders, and executives establish original and engaging content across their social channels. And he'll be talking about how to generate 1 million per year from LinkedIn. That's pretty exciting. Is there anything I can help you, Steve, to get ready?
Gosh, I think that's it. I mean, $1 million a year from LinkedIn is a good way to start and hopefully capture everybody's attention. So that's all for me. I appreciate it very much.
Great. Then the time is yours. If you have slides, just hit present and you can go ahead and share, upload your slides, and we can get them to the live stream.
Great. All right, guys, I'm going to upload the slides real quick on the live stream. But first and foremost, my name is Steve Schmidt, as introduced. So appreciate that very much on the introduction. Just to give you some more context about what I think you'll appreciate about today is we hear a lot about content. We hear a lot about things like the LinkedIn algorithm. We hear a lot about just all sorts of things about the truth and what isn't the truth. And ultimately, we've all seen LinkedIn give us a big compression downward, right, in terms of overall impressions, right? And that can be depressing to people. I think I've certainly seen that. But what I will say is we're very, very excited about the fact that what we've seen is, although impressions have gone down, when targeting, call it those people to grow your audience in your ICP, our business is up. And so we've really hyper defined that and used content-led selling, which is what I'll be talking about today. So today, I'm going to tell you about content-led selling, our own journey into why we adopted this from a former sales guy, call it, to a marketer, and the results that we had along the way, and then how you can do some of the same things. So we're going to whip you through the playbook as well today. So that'll all take about 15 to 20 minutes tops, and I'll open it up for any Q&A. So with that, let's get started. So I appreciate that. There's the slides. There's my fancy signature. Just so you know, I did use the new ChatGPT yesterday to help complete this. I love the fact that when you make pictures, it just throws random things together. And I always go, we got a long ways to go, but look at where we are. And so all of these social channels are overwhelming. YouTube, LinkedIn. You could spend a full-time equivalent times 10 just learning these channels and how to optimize them. They're changing that much. And if you go over to Reddit, things get really interesting. Now you're on Twitter, and pretty soon you go, man, my head's spinning. Where do I really need to land? Well, today we're going to say there's two places you need to be that we found over all other channels that we decided to plant on. One is LinkedIn, and the other is YouTube. So let's talk about it. As we move ahead, let's again talk about content-led selling. It is the idea that I'm not going to pitch you. I'm going to prove to you value. I'm going to educate you. I might even entertain you. And if you find that valuable, ultimately you will do business with me. So content-led components, we have content, trust, value, revenue, engagement, transition. This slide got botched. I love it. But we're really looking at this as a bridge, right? Your content builds trust. And if it's organic, it can build more trust by being yourself, but not so much of yourself that people have no idea what you do. And I think that's where I'll plant and say, if anything, me too, hand included, the last 3 years on LinkedIn, we saw a lot of great posts. And I'm going to get to it here in a second. You'll appreciate this as marketers. Feels like people didn't pay attention to keywords. It was very ephemeral. Here today, gone tomorrow, right? It was just a moment in time, that post. And I saw some agencies charging CEOs $5,000 a post. And I thought, I don't think I've ever seen a bigger waste of money, because that post could have been a newsletter, which is now SEO searchable. That post could have been a YouTube video. And maybe that post did become that, right? So I just look on the outside. It's not about the post anymore. It's really about the platform. So here's facts that we know to be about the algorithm. So relevancy, right? And we all go, gosh, tell me how to do that, right? That's really up to you to find out what your people are talking about. I'm going to show you some tools to figure out exactly the questions they're asking in real time today. And then user interactions, right? So are we actually interacting with the people in a way that they would want to read it? Now, here's an exercise you can do. Pull out your phone right now, go to LinkedIn and start scrolling, and you'll see you won't be impressed. You're going to see a lot of the same stuff, maybe some good nuggets here and there, but we've all been trained to also view our own feed. So I want to challenge you while you're listening to this. If you don't like your feed, it's your problem. You need to change it. You need to unfollow the people you don't want to follow. You need to follow the people who you should follow. You need to follow people in your space. I always say the number one way to make money on LinkedIn is to focus on your work on LinkedIn, not everybody else's work. And it's very challenging for a lot of young reps to do that, especially SDRs. They get in this big wide world of internet. Now ChatGPT, you can do anything. You'll do anything. Expertise. Let's talk about that. How can you become an expert? That's the angle I like to take. I don't consider myself, I suppose, an expert just because that feels weird to say, but by years of experience, I can help highlight that. I can try and tell people, here's what I did. Here's how you could do it if you want to too. And that's the other thing is people like to be talked to in a way that does not say do this or else, or do this and you'll be successful. They want to say, here's what I did. And I'll lay it out very simply. And if you like it, you can use it too. So they want to see, here's what you did. Here's, you had a problem. You fixed it. Here's how you did it. You could do it too if you want to. And images and video, real quickly on this. Posts with images, 2 times more comments, depends on the image, right? Videos, 5x more engagement. We know that to be true. Still has to be a good video. I would say when you look at engagement on video, it's not about the impressions. It's the fact that immediately you're jumping the line by using video. People will watch. You just got to keep them. Something we've done, and this gets into YouTube here, is we've started to use with our clients the LinkedIn post, comment on a link to YouTube, although LinkedIn hates that, and I've been shadow banned because of it. And now you're over to YouTube, and now they're able to subscribe to your channel and actually see your posts on a regular basis. The same thing is with a newsletter, right? When you publish a newsletter on LinkedIn, they get it via their email. Post, nope, not unless you follow them. And even if you have the bell, you might not see it. So again, I'm taking the emphasis off of the post, which sounds crazy because I've been talking about posts being the stuff for 3 years. Long form is back. Long posts. Questions, provoking discussion is back. Why is it back? Because automatically it says that ChatGPT would be challenged to write that much without looking like it. So if you take the time to write that post and you were to write one post, i.e. a newsletter once a week, that's 1,200 characters, you're going to have a bigger impact than if you wrote 5 200-character posts. A little bit of less, do more with less, pardon me. Best times, that hasn't changed. Frequency hasn't changed. None of this has really changed, guys. And that's the thing is, although we're changing and we're growing, LinkedIn is now 1 billion users. I think what's changing is the idea of how we're using it. Can you use LinkedIn as a selling platform like YouTube? I think the answer is no. And everybody would probably agree with that. Nobody wants to be sold to click a button to then buy. You can experiment with it, but I would say have a different goal than to get a meeting. Get them further along in the journey, get them into your pipeline content funnel. And now you're able to use those analytics to then do whatever you want with the data, right? You can advertise to those people. You can make posts and try and signal out those people. A strategy that not a lot of people are utilizing that I've seen very effective is to actually deploy that mid-funnel. So talk about the problems your customers came to you in discovery who are now in your funnel, but don't name them by name. That's a very interesting story. Or you can pull a Chris Walkerism and ask them if you mind if they record it and if you share it, and just play back the video where you're answering the questions to that video. And that will subtly bring back their attention and say, gosh, that sounds a lot like us. Wait, that is us. Oh yeah, this is a big problem. We should fix it. So it's a mid-content or mid-funnel content strategy as well. Real good graphic here on percentage of channels used by C-levels. 80% of CEOs log into LinkedIn. As you can see, YouTube, it drops to about, this is about 68%. Twitter's a little higher, Facebook down, and then Instagram and TikTok, you may as well not bother. According to the data, I'm saying. I'm not saying not to bother. Here is the 3 primary channels for content-led selling. So let's look at the forms, pardon me, and then we can drive those to the channel. We have long form, short form, and direct outreach. We believe that outreach is content. I think the demand gen folks would agree as you're testing messaging out. You need to be going outbound as well. Content is passive. Content is awareness. Content is education. Content is not syncing with someone one-to-one to take them through the next step of that, pushing them a little bit out of their comfort zone to now meet with you to further engage. So we use an outbound approach. So our content-led approach yields 31% of the results. And last year we did 174 million across the portfolio of companies we have was from this direct outreach on LinkedIn and across other platforms, but primarily LinkedIn DMs, that stuff you guys get to hate, don't like to receive. It's how they do it. And it's that they don't do it until 2 months after posting or 2 weeks. And it's not asking for an appointment. It's saying, hey, knock, knock. You probably know me by now. And they're familiar with you. So that's something we see working very well. And as a matter of fact, I challenge anybody who's not doing this today to deploy some sort of outbound strategy via DMs to those people in a very authentic way. That's up to you with your C-level into your decision makers. It makes an immediate impact. Newsletters are back. Seems weird. What's out is in. We started a newsletter consistently, 58 editions, I believe now, a little over a year. That newsletter is a big part of our awareness to funnel mechanism. The thing I liked about this is once in a while, I like to still tap back into the ego I tried to let go of a while ago. But I said, man, we're going to call our shot and prove to people that organic content can get you on the front page of a very competitive Google search without paying a dime. So we wrote a newsletter about how to write a LinkedIn newsletter. And then we put, and what you should want to, right? And why you should want to, right? So how to write one and why you should want to. So we wanted to stand out. Now, the newsletter didn't perform that much better than everything else, but it did put us as the #1 organic search on this, right above Neil Patel, right above some other big names like Adobe, and we are not paid, right? So how do we get there? Now we're getting leads off of that, and we're getting people to subscribe to our newsletter off of Google. So we love that, right? Here, let's go into YouTube. $41 million is spent on the platform daily. It's a lot of money. And that's for professional development primarily. People paying out of their pockets to get better. If they can do it, businesses can do. I'm convinced. We use a tool called vidIQ. I'm sure many of you on this tool, have used this tool. Pardon me. What this does real simply is, if you zoomed in on this, you would see very clearly. Let's just try and get in here quick. Overview, how to write a LinkedIn newsletter. Okay, so on the same topic, I went into there and typed that keywords chain in, and it said the search volume is as such, right? It's a low to medium search volume. There is some competition for it, not a lot, right? But it tells me what questions people are asking. Therefore, we get a lot of people say, well, what should I use to make YouTube videos? And should I just make explainer videos? I'd say just use this tool, go in, find out what people are talking about, find out what people are asking questions, more importantly about, and then answer those, and then do it in a longer form than the last one, and use a tool like vidIQ to help give your video a title, keywords, and pick all of those things that you need to make a YouTube video show up in a search. There's not a guaranteed result to this by any stretch of the imagination, but it is one way, even if you're not making videos and if you just want to write, just like SEMrush, you can go to this tool and type that in and find out what people are looking at on YouTube, because that's driving a very, very good imprint on the algorithm as well. And YouTube, as you know, kind of in bed with Google, and videos like to show up on that homepage as well. So if you get good at YouTube, you can get really good at being searchable by driving people to your video. As long as you have a journey, once they get to your YouTube channel, how are they getting in? Is it a playlist? Is it a hook video from that search into a playlist that's meant to convert them? Or is it meant to just get them on your channel so they stay there? Lots of things to think about with YouTube. All right, guys, this is the content-led inputs. So this is exactly what I promised you would give you. So out of the LinkedIn, out of the YouTube, out of the newsletter, what do we do on an annual basis to drive 101% of our revenue? It is this. None of the posts are written with AI. We research with AI. We use vidIQ for YouTube, which I just showed you guys, both shorts and long form. We do a newsletter every other week for most clients. We do 52. We do one a week for ourselves. So that does take about 3 hours a week. And you start to look at this and you go, man, it's really time consuming still with AI. And you go, yeah, it's 500 pieces of content to plan, create, edit, publish, measure, attribute. It's 1,000 hours, right? It's a lot when it adds up. So what does it do on the return? Everybody says it takes a lot of time. One of our favorite clients, the Maker Group, about 13 months ago, I was working with him, my first client. I said, guys, we got to do a podcast. It has to be about negotiations because that's what you do. It's a really cool subject. And they said, okay. And we were really struggling with outbound. And I said, we'll get good guests on. We'll get the guests you want. We'll get some influencers. And we had 52 guests come on. What happened out of that was incredible. We converted an offer to every podcast guest who was on at 2 tickets that were each worth $6,000 that they could give away to anybody to a virtual negotiations webinar or training. Out of that, 32% of those people have converted to final stage pipeline. Some of those logos include SAP, T-Mobile, big logos, all started from a YouTube only based podcast where we converted the guests without saying anything to them about, hey, thanks for being on the podcast, buy our stuff. We just kept giving, and they got us viral, which was amazing. So that's a quick case study because I like that one because that's what it is. It really is about being creative, coming up with an offer that's very low to no entry. They don't have to spend any money, take any time unless they choose to invest it, and make that be your product-led growth mechanism. Let's go back to like the old way of doing it here. Let them try you before they buy you. Content-led focused channels, YouTube and LinkedIn. We talked about that. That's it, guys. I wish I had more to my presentation. I wish this was harder than I just made it. But the truth is content-led selling is not hard. You have the tools just like everybody else does. I would say there's 3 key things to wrap up that you should not do because I don't want to tell you what to do. Here's what not to do. AI is not coming to save you, and it will not accelerate your content plan. It will help you on every other perimeter except for the content itself. The research, the design, you still got to be you because people are still buying from people. Number 2, if you are not having your executives post and you think that could be a strategy that they should deploy, I would say whatever it takes to get them over the fence, get them there. Not every executive should be posting. Not every executive should be making videos. I don't believe that. I used to think that, and then I got smart and said, gosh, they're probably really good at other things. They're probably really good at in-person networking, maybe speaking at events. Maybe they're really good, just a good CEO and people just love their company and they don't need this. And I say, so it's not for everybody, but it is for people who want to have a competitive edge and be seen when they're not seen today and have a lasting impression on people. And number 3, and this is the thing I've tried to learn desperately this year and I'm getting slightly better at it, is if you're not having fun with it, it shows. And if you're not having fun with content, even if you're in a very serious field, I say it's not worth it because creating should be fun. It should give you the sort of energy that lights you up because sales and marketing is hard. If we take the creative elements out, it starts to suck. So never forget to keep the creativity in because that's up to you. You are going to be the ones who decide how much we adopt AI and how much we keep ourselves in this process. I think you will get into it when you get out of it what you put into it. If you don't put much into it, you're going to get very little out of it. Whether that's a little inputs into AI expecting a lot, it's not going to happen. A lot of inputs expecting a lot of outputs with just AI probably won't happen. A little bit of work, a little bit of AI, a lot of creativity, and the right channels, and you'll have fun and you'll make a lot of money. I promise you. All right, I'm wrapped up, guys. Any Q&A from me?
I can jump in here and help facilitate. I did see a few questions come in. One I saw is, what tips do you have for posting videos? Is there specific content that does better?
Yeah, I'd say right now, go back to your mobile phone on LinkedIn. I think even a shaky walk and talk is better than a well-produced Zoom podcast. I think we've all grown immune to the 2 faces sitting next to each other. And I can't say how much I can't wait for that trend to be over with.
No, I think that's great. Kind of on the same note, I mean, you're talking about how videos can get 5 times more engagement. Is that the short form? Is that the long form? Like, how long are we talking to really optimize that engagement?
Here's the good part about that question. And it's not, it depends. There is an answer. If someone's engaged with you, it's really about whoever makes it to the finish line. Finish line is about the halfway point, right? Because they don't need to watch the whole video. On LinkedIn, you're really looking for the analytics, by the way, that they don't give us, which is the video watch time on LinkedIn. Like the things that we should be getting to actually be able to make good videos. It's hard, but it does really well on the platform. So I would say from a video perspective, Will Aiken is a good example of impossible not to like his content, right? He's funny, he's smart, he knows what he's talking about. He seems very genuine, and he's an actor, right? And he's got a British accent or whatever. Like, he's got all the parts. You do that same thing over here, it doesn't probably work as well. And so I think it still really depends on the creator inputs for video, on the format. I don't think everybody should be doing super produced video. I don't think everybody should try and be Devin Reed and go to the top story of a skyscraper and pay 10 grand a day to interview people. I think Devin's earned that right to do that in his journey, and jumping the line will get you in trouble. And so be careful on how you come out to look bigger than life. It's important, but also appreciate that you are new to this, and it's okay to not have to be super big and spend a bunch of money day one, because people are kind of off put by that.
Yeah. I mean, is it different for LinkedIn versus YouTube? Like, can you post content and kind of get the most out of in both channels, or is it better to create unique content for each of those specific channels?
Unique content, but you can borrow for sure. I mean, here's what I would say is, like, an explainer video is not going to perform well on LinkedIn, right? Unless it's like a demo release that you just nobody knew about, and they're like, oh, what's this? They're just not there to see that. Like, they just don't want to be convinced. I mean, we're all working. We're like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Can I sell something? Can I sell something? Like, we're not like, ooh, can I be inspired by somebody? It's just not usually what I go to LinkedIn for. No offense, LinkedIn. I get inspired by other platforms, and usually with things that aren't about making money. Like, it's about things with my kids, or like music that makes me feel a certain way. I do not go to LinkedIn for inspiration. I'm sorry. I just don't, right? And so I think entertain them, let them know that, hey, I know you probably don't want to be here too, but I'm going to make it worth your time to do your job. And I think we all forget that not everybody is obsessed with their job like we are. Creators are obsessed with what they do and themselves. It just is what it is. And I think when we accept that, not everybody else thinks like that, that's okay. Then it just is fun, you know?
Yeah. And you touched on it a little bit. You were talking about like the reason that you go to LinkedIn and what you're looking to see.
Yeah.
And you talked about it too in your presentation about if you don't like your feed, change it.
Yes.
And unfollow people and follow new people. Can you maybe expand a little bit more on how to really maximize the potential of your LinkedIn and how to find new people with content that resonate with you?
Gosh, I love the question, because there's really an easy way. Go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator and look in the feed of the people who you're actually trying to connect with, who are in your target audience. That avoids all the fluff. It keeps you focused. Now that's, you know, in sales, I would say, or any field, it's hyper relevant, because now you can do so much. Right now you're really looking at your business versus the internet. You're looking at what you want to see versus what LinkedIn wants you to see. Yeah. And that to me is the feed that I go to, because I want to see who's posting in my core audience. I'm desperate to learn what they're talking about every day. I don't really care what someone's talking about on a cold call script of an SDR. Respect for that, huge. Do I want to see my feed with it? It's not relevant. So I just unfollowed all those people, you know? And so it's not like I don't like them. I just don't follow them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like how you kind of said that you focus on your core audience.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in like following people who are in similar roles and seeing what they're doing. But what a great advantage to
That's one way to get depressed though, right?
Audience.
I always say, if you want to get depressed, follow a bunch of your peers, because they're all trying to look very cool. You'll be inspired if you follow the people you're selling to. I promise you. And that's the way we've done it wrong. We all want to compare, right? There's not, I always say, if you really want to go look at this, go look at SDRs on LinkedIn. Again, I'm kind of picking on them today. I used to run an agency. I love them. They're great, but they're entry level, right? So they're kind of like, you know, yeah, I just booked a bunch of cold calls. Like, I'm the man. And you're like, oh boy, like, you should be going after your target audience, and you should be subscribing to everything they do on Reddit, and you should be attending every workshop in that space you could, and you should be publishing a newsletter about your curiosity in the space with people in the space, not talking about how you just kicked ass on a cold call. Now, I get it, but I feel like this is the SDR of the future, and the way that we can help mold them is embolden them and make them really good at being prompt engineers. If you haven't gone on the new ChatGPT release, welcome to a new world. Hello, holy smokes. I got smacked in the face by it yesterday, guys. And I was so inspired. I was so inspired because anybody can do anything now. But like everything else, very few people will do it, even though it's right there. So all of us will still have jobs. All of us will still be able to create. And I think if anything, your ability to create engaging visuals and videos in 2-3 minutes. I mean, we created a podcast flyer for a customer yesterday. And I'm like, we would have paid $500 for that 2 months ago. And we made it look just like a Marvel comic book with their faces all done up, standing on a certain planet with their color of green flagpole. And it was that easy. And so I think where we're going with it is people are going to want to see that. But if everybody can do it, how are you going to do it creatively? And it's still art, because now you can still mold it to be art, right? And that's creativity.
Yeah. Are there any risks with leveraging AI when it comes to this video content and what you're describing as like really, like what are the risks that kind of come with it? I know there's people that are like fully bought in, and then we kind of have the people, the audience who's like a little apprehensive. And I worry about like with content and graphics, if we'll run into like some form of like AI fatigue. Like what are your attitudes?
Boy, I am already tired with AI. I mean, I'm already like there. I don't know about you guys. I just am kind of like, okay, like this is not going to be a fight. It is here. Like I have to figure out how to make it work. There are AI channels, right? You guys go to YouTube, the channels that have no people, faceless channels that make millions of dollars. So I would say, is it effective? Yeah, you could spin one up in your bedroom tonight and go make a bunch of money explaining how to sew a button on a shirt. Like that is sort of the future of explainer videos, I think, for a little bit on YouTube for consumers. I think the AI fatigue will come more in more vanilla. You know how you get vanilla emails now? If everybody just started using vidIQ and using the same titles and the same descriptions and the same terrible thumbnails that look like Mr. Beast, but are like not Mr. Beast, then we're going to get fatigued over there. So it's like, I have always loved bands that artists that come out that are not like anybody else. It's always been my thing. I love businesses like that and creators. That's my thing. I like Radiohead. I like other things that just aren't mainstream. And I think have that edge right now, and you're going to stand out more than ever, because AI does not give you edge. AI does not give you attitude, and AI does not know your competition.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I kind of had one last question. So for people that are really trying to get started, who maybe feel inspired by your session and they're like, this is so cool, I want to start trying it and getting into it. Do you feel like a better starting point, is it just to go through your old content and update kind of like your keywords, or is it just better to create new and original content and start from scratch?
Love it. Start with a vidIQ, use their free Chrome extension, go there, audit it, right? I have no connection to them, by the way. That's what we use. Go there and audit it just to kind of go back and you'd be like cringing a little bit. And so then what happened to me is I was like, I got to make a bunch of new content because this stuff sucks. And like the experience of learning through that, of what you didn't do right the first time, is just going to exponentially make your video creation process easier. We, for example, know exactly our newsletter topic. We write around that. We're producing 5 videos that I go set up a camera, film 5 minutes, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We then take those 5 videos, put them with the 5 posts, put them into a playlist on YouTube. Now we're topicized with the newsletter. We're capitalizing on authority and compressing as much of that keyword as possible. So we're creating our own keyword strains and going to the top.
Very interesting. Well, I really appreciate all your insights. Just reiterate, if someone's trying to get a hold of you or ask questions, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn's great. Yeah. Steve Schmidt. I'm the guy with the, that was like the first day AI was out. I used that picture maker. So that's me with the glasses. Just DM me, and we have a bunch of people here over the team. We'd love to meet with you and just chat in general and see what's going on.
Great. Well, thank you again, Steve. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Great. So up next, we will be joined by Todd and Taylor. We're really excited about their presentation. But before we get into that, I just want to do a couple quick reminders. The 10 a.m. block has been released. You can watch that at thedemandgensummit.com. I also saw another question on if the live session will be accessible after today. And the answer is yes. You can access that live session on demand, either at LinkedIn, YouTube, or at thedemandgensummit.com. We're really excited to hear from Todd and Taylor. Todd is the co-founder and CEO at Champify. which is really just focused on helping customers build pipeline, increase win rates, expand, and prevent churn by monitoring when key contacts leave and join customer accounts. And they will be talking about identifying your unique data set to engage early stage deals and nurture accounts. So I'll go ahead and add you in, Todd. Hey, Todd, how are you today?
I am doing great. How are you, Jenny?
Doing good. Just jumping in here to help out, see if you guys have any slides we need to add or anything I can help out there.
My slides are ready to go. If I can just present, I think I'll be good to go.
Great. If you just hit present and you either do Google Slides or upload from your computer, once I see them, I can add them to the screen.
All right, let's see.
And will we be being joined by Taylor as well?
Taylor's not going to join, just me. Taylor's a lot of the brains behind this, but she's not able to join.
No worries.
Are you able to see my screen, Jenny?
Yep, here it is. So I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you. And then if you finish a little early, we can take some time for questions.
Awesome. Great. Jenny, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Everyone on here, thanks for taking the time out of your day to connect. My name's Todd Busler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Champify. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. But what I wanted to talk about today was very kind of demand gen oriented. I think the blend between sales and marketing is getting narrower and narrower every day. So I think this topic will resonate with a broad range of folks. There's more noise in the market today than ever before. I've been doing this for about 13 years and it feels more noisy and competitive. I think buyers are confused and inundated. There's a lot of poor outreach. And people are trying to figure out what to do about it. So what I'm here to talk about today is some of the problems we've seen firsthand at Champify, and how I'm convinced that each company, for everyone on this call today, has something unique that they can do to demonstrate the problem that they're after to solve and get in front of go-to-market conversion issues, customer acquisition conversion issues. So who am I? I started my company at big company, SAP, trained as a salesperson, sales engineer, and I've progressively gone to smaller companies. So I was the first hire at one of the first few sales hires at Square, watched a team go from like 60 to 60 reps in 1 year, scaled really quickly. I wanted to go to a smaller company and joined Heap Analytics. I was there from 6 employees to about 300 or so as the first AE, the first director, opened an office in New York. And led sales at the time I left was about a $40 million ARR business. Then I spent time in the venture world. So I was an operator in residence where I would get dropped in. Let's say Jenny was an engineer building a product. Our company had funded them. They had no idea really how to do go to market. I would get dropped in their company and figure out where to start. So how do we price this? How do we go to market? How do we get design partners? How do we land our first couple customers? How do you comp and hire certain AEs? One of the frustrations I saw at Heap and at Unusual Ventures was essentially, hey, it's getting harder and harder to do outbound well. We were a company that never was great at marketing and demand gen. So ultimately, out of that frustration, I started a product that's go-to-market focused SaaS company that helps companies who have great customers tap into those biggest advocates and drive pipeline. So, folks like Clary and S&P and Content Square are using us today to monitor their biggest advocates across product users, people that have bought their product, work with their success teams, and not relying on SDRs to find these people manually in a very time-consuming and cumbersome way. Nowadays, I spend a lot of my time thinking about marketing. I think I grew up thinking that sales was significantly harder, and ever since I'm in the founder seat now, I've realized that marketing is extremely challenging, and I spend a lot of time thinking about it, and why I'm excited to attend some of the other sessions today. The problem I saw when I was at Unusual Ventures, helping companies kind of get started, and also here at Champify, is that there's a lot of curiosity from buyers, right? They're trying to figure out problems. For us, that's around pipeline and top of funnel that we're helping our customers solve. If you have a product in the accounting space or a product in the DevOps space, like people are curious for new solutions that will address their issues, but many of them aren't ready for a formal sales cycle. Many of you have products that are in new categories. That's where we sit. It's a very nascent category, and people are very curious about what exactly this means or what we do. But that doesn't mean buyers are ready to solve that problem right away, right? So the question I have for everyone here today, and I challenge you to think about, is how can you add value to the prospect, expand the way that they're thinking about a problem, and help them realize that A, this gap might be bigger than they think, and B, this might be worth prioritizing a bit earlier than they expected. So we thought a lot about the options on how can we start to address this question, right? And what we thought about was, hey, we can improve the way we talk about our product in sales conversations, but that's one-to-one in nature. It's hard to reach many people. We thought about reframing some of our messaging, right? And to me, this is a constant, never-ending exercise that every company is always on that journey. What we landed on was, how could we do this in a way that drives more curiosity around the problem, right? What we found is we have to educate people on the problem, get them excited about ways to potentially solve that, but focusing on the problem rather than the solution has been a pivotal point in how we approach this issue. So what we ultimately landed on is, how do we answer the burning questions that are coming up? So, we listen to all of our sales calls. We have a variety of triggers set up when people are asking specific questions. And I was actually recommended a book when I was starting Champify called They Ask You Answer. I'm not sure how many people have read this, but it was really about, people in the early HubSpot days addressing a bunch of customer questions proactively with blog content. And I think that what we've decided to do is a natural extension of that, right? When we were approaching this, rather than in the They Ask You Answer format of, hey, let's make a bunch of blogs, let's have a bunch of stuff to optimize for SEO, we were having an issue of, hey, we don't have a hard time getting meetings. People are really curious what our solution does, and the problem resonates. They were really asking questions around, how big is the opportunity? How long would this take to implement? How do you go about this in an A+ way? Why can't we continue doing the thing we're doing, right? So what we tried to do is think about, what is a unique way for us to answer those questions at scale? So we started to look for some inspiration in the market. Ever since starting Champify, I study a lot of early stage companies. I've become really obsessed with marketing and who does that well. When we looked at the market, we looked at companies like Metadata, right? They do an awesome periodic study on what's happening with trends in terms of the costs of ads on LinkedIn or on Facebook. We looked at Pave, who is in the compensation space and does a really nice job benchmarking for early roles, right? So if you're hiring a new engineer, how much equity should they get? If you're at a company of this scale, how much should you be paying those people based on real data? The other one we looked at was Vendor. I think Vendor does an amazing job at this, at saying, hey, they have hundreds, thousands of companies using the product. They're collecting very, very interesting data that helps people understand what's happening in the competitive landscape, who's winning market, who's losing market share, but also what's the state of buying, right? So what's happening when it comes to length of renewal cycles, what's happening for win rate on new deals, how many people are getting involved, right? So these were all three things that I looked forward to consuming. Every quarter when this comes out on Vendor, I take an hour and I read the whole thing. I know about these companies because they do these periodic reports, and it's kept me engaged with their brands. So Taylor runs marketing, as a lot of the brains behind Champify, asked ourselves, what are the forward-looking demand gen people and CROs? That's our buyer, that's our persona. What do they want to know, right? What is something that shows unique value that only our product can answer, right? And how do we educate people in a one-to-many way? When we started to think about this, we had kind of two or three criteria, right? The first was, what is the goal in trying to create the version of what other folks have done here? And then what is the unique differentiating data that only we have access to, right? And again, the core focus for us is, how do we educate people on this problem, right? So when we looked at this, we said, where are we unique? How can we amplify the problem? And then with our data, how can we proactively address some of those doubts that we were hearing in sales calls? How can we proactively address some of those objections, some stated directly and some indirectly? And then secondly, we're having a lot of conversations with people. They're getting educated on the problem, which means we're targeting the right people. They may not be in market, but we have a big list of accounts that we want to begin to nurture, right? And how can we do that without focusing on our product? The other framework that we thought a lot here was you can go and tell the market a bunch of things, or you can show them, right? And I come from a data background. A lot of our team comes from a product analytics data background. We use the framework of show versus tell. Show is much more powerful than telling. So what we did was we dug deep in our data, right? So we're lucky enough to have 100 plus customers at some of the leading, fastest growing B2B organizations. And people were really curious around, why do I even need to track advocates, right? What could be the impact on the entire go-to-market funnel? How much more productive is a strategy that Champify offers versus other outbound bets I can make? People would ask us questions like, hey, we may be doing this already in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. What is the true gap that you're going to be able to solve? What are the different audiences and how valuable they are, right? So in our product, we look at help people think about their advocates in different flavors, right? So who are people that have bought their product? Who are people that are working with their post-sales teams? Who are people that are just users of the product, right? And people wanted to know, how does that compare to outbound, right? And why should we prioritize something like this? And then we got a lot of questions around, how often does a job change matter? Like in terms of, if they changed 2 years ago, how much more impactful or less impactful is that versus 3 or 6 months ago? We got a lot of questions on when's the right time to reach out, exactly when, who should be the person that does that? What impact do you have on close rate? So you can see I'm saying a lot of very detailed things. All of these were directly sourced from calls that we had and questions that we started to get from our customers. So in putting this together, right, this was a very unique thing that only we could answer. This was something that people were already having curiosity around. And then thirdly, this gave them a way to engage with our brand, get more educated on the problem before they were necessarily ready to move into a sales cycle. Now you might say, great, that's a cool looking PDF. I like the GIF you showed. What does this mean? Like, what was the impact, right? So when we thought about, hey, we're going to spend time, we're going to spend money, we're going to spend attention on this report. It's not easy to produce. It took a lot of hours, right? It took a lot of third-party help. How do we use it, right? So we looked at this in 3 areas. Our problem or our challenge that we were looking to overcome was not getting into conversation. It was getting people to act, right? So with this, now we're top of mind, right? With information focused on that problem. Even if they want to look at a competitor, right? They're looking at the problem, they're going to do something. There's a higher likelihood that they're moving down that kind of customer acquisition journey. We've also built up a lot of closed lost ops, right? That did nothing or stayed with status quo. This became a great thing to reach out to. And then lastly, in creating all of this, both from a research standpoint and from a content production standpoint, we had dozens of great posts that were very interesting from a data perspective that helped feed our content engine. So again, the core goal of this wasn't an awareness thing, but it also helped feed the content engine, which led to more awareness for us. And the results have been staggering. So this is a pretty major impact on the business. We're a seed stage company, so we're not massive yet. When we launched this, it almost 2x'd our traffic, which was, again, kind of a secondary benefit. I think the more important thing is it helped reopen both nurture and close loss opportunities, more than 10 of them, and ops that were active opportunities that people were viewing this were converting significantly faster, right? So again, thinking about where we could be unique and what's the actual impact on the funnel for what we were looking to solve. So my question for everyone today is, how can you focus on the problem and give your buyers a reason to re-engage? I think a lot of people say, how do we get these people to buy? But the idea is you're really trying to get them to re-engage. While most of your competitors are running a lot of the same playbooks, automated outbound, getting an intent, running a LinkedIn strategy, whatever that may be, I would encourage everyone to lean into where are you uniquely equipped to capture the attention and tell a story with data. That's all I have for today. If you enjoyed this, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I post a lot about what we're building at Champify, kind of building in public, experiments we're running, mistakes we're making, and other learnings along the way and go to market from my last 13 years in this business. If you're a company above 150 employees that has a lot of happy customers, high NPS, great G2 reviews, but really not seeing the second order benefits of that revenue, in the form of seeing people that are buying the product, moving to other companies and trying to bring them with you, Champify may be able to help. I'll open it up for questions. Jenny, I know you might have a few, but that'll conclude what I wanted to share today.
Great. I'll just jump in here to help facilitate if anyone wants to drop a question. I've received a couple, so I thought I'd just go ahead and ask them and kind of like get your input. But I noticed an interesting kind of commonality between the things that you talked about and the things from the keynote that we had earlier today. And in the keynote, Heather mentioned that if you have a product that people love, you will find success. And you also kind of started with that people are curious, that they're looking for problems. They have problems and they are looking for solutions. I think through this event and just looking on LinkedIn, I've just noticed that a few marketers and salespeople feel that like growth is down. It's not as high as they've seen it in the past. Do you have any insights or advice on that? Because like if we're saying if you have this amazing product, you'll be fine. What's the missing piece then of you may have a product people love, but is it just you're just not selling it to the right audience? And that's really where the personas come in.
Yeah, well, first of all, I disagree with it. I used to think, the best product wins, right? And I think that's really untrue today. I think if you look at any category in any space, and we know this from our customers or prospects we talk to, markets are getting more crowded. I think we're still dealing with, 2-3 years of a lot of overfunding and a lot of people going after markets that may not be big enough. And I think in the US, it's particularly more competitive. So I don't think the best product always wins. Right. I think it's on us as sales and marketing leaders to understand, are we being really targeted in the accounts that we can definitely win? Are we spending our right time in the right areas? If you're in a new category, are you spending almost as much time you are educating on the problem than you are on your solution? And it probably should be more 2/3 problem oriented, 1/3 solution oriented. So I think in an ideal world, the best solution, kind of the best product wins. But I think today it's really a combination of good product, which is table stakes, really good go to market from an awareness and brand building perspective. And also you can differentiate in the sales process, right? Like I was talking to my friend the other day that runs a closed lost product that helps you understand, why are buyers choosing you? What are they doing? And at the end of the day, I think sales has way bigger impact on people's decisions than we like to think about. So I'd encourage people to think about the entire go-to-market process as a differentiator as well, in addition to the product, because time and time again, I think products are getting very similar in different categories. It's way easier to copy new features. It's way easier to, or way harder to build technical moats, right? So I think about go-to-market as the differentiator that I think is a key takeaway.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, go-to-market is so critical. I know sometimes it can be even challenging to really align your marketing and sales. Do you have any advice on really how to get that alignment in your go-to-market?
I think it starts with comp. I think like we're away from the days of, hey, what's inbound, what's outbound. First off, it's just way harder to tell, right? Like how much of an impact of me posting on LinkedIn helped an SDR book a meeting, right? Like we hear all the time on cold calls, oh, I've been reading your stuff on LinkedIn for a long time. Okay, the SDR did the job, but like actually marketing helped make that happen. So the way we approach it is everyone's aligned to the same goal. It's revenue. It's not even pipeline. And I think that just gets people focused on what matters. And at different points in your company's evolution, it might be, hey, we actually need to increase top of funnel because we're not having enough meetings, or hey, we're seeing a conversion rate down funnel. We need more help on the positioning, product marketing. So I think it starts with comp, which then allows people to get on the same team and understand what are the biggest problems to fix. And there's always something, right? There's always something you're chipping away at.
Yeah, no, I love that. Another question I saw is, how do you find ways to show your audience what you offer? You mentioned using info, customers, prospects we're already asking about, but how do you learn what your audience is looking for?
I think most of it comes up on sales calls, right? What are the things they're asking for that maybe your sales collateral doesn't address? We spend a lot of time in different communities where our buyers are and see what people are asking for. An example of one we're hearing a ton around and we're building a lot of content in a series around is, hey, we're turning on outbound for the first time. We don't have an outbound culture. Like, yes, we know what to do. We know what to say. We may know the tools, but like, how do you build that culture, right? So that's something we've heard and we're building a lot of content around right now. But I think it comes from listening to the customers and prospects, seeing what people are talking about in Slack groups and community groups. And then also just, you know, if you're in sales or you're a founder, you're having these conversations, like you should know where some of this is going and what is the next question people are going to ask, and then do your best to answer it. Now, how you answer it, the forums, etc. I think this impact study that I talked about is a very unique way to go about it. I think there's more products than ever to do it in a one-to-many way, whether that's, interactive demos on your site or product tours or Loom videos or whatever that may be. I think it's find out what the strategy, what the medium is that your buyers like to engage in, and then double down on that.
Very interesting. The other thing I want to touch on is like at the very beginning, you kind of threw out, I don't know if it's risque, but you said that's you used to think that sales was way harder, but now that you're a founder, you feel that it's kind of swayed the other way, that you believe marketing is harder. What difficulties of marketing have specifically surprised you, and how has this adjusted your approach?
I think sales is hard, right? And I think
Right.
the markets are competitive. It's harder to differentiate products. I think that's a reality a lot of us are facing. I think like one-to-one combat, you can get really good at, right? I think like you can get really good at all the objections. You understand when you're going to win or lose. You can start to figure out the qualification. I think the marketing is significantly harder because it's a one-to-many format, right? And I think there was some first mover advantages of who's the first people to be using LinkedIn or who's the first people to really go deep on Reddit or a community, but a lot of that has been figured out, right? So like finding a new channel that's going to magically work like Facebook ads did 8-10 years ago, that doesn't really exist, right? So I think marketing has shifted quite a bit from the analytics nerd who's amazing at measuring every little step and every customer acquisition cost and getting really good attribution to creative marketers. Like I think marketing has made a big shift into being really creative. What are the right events you run? What are the right messaging? And I think that's just a really hard skill set. So when I see good marketing, I just have a ton of respect for them because standing out on a one-to-one sales call is doable. Standing out in one-to-one around not only your competitive solutions, but all the solutions you're competing for budget with, I think that's extremely challenging. I have more and more respect for great marketers every single day.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a lot of really good points. I like how you keep bringing it back to as well. Like it's this one to many that we should all be really focused on. So last question I have for you. It sounds like a lot of the message and your product stems kind of from like that iceberg principle. From what you've seen and your experience, how significant is this principle across the different areas of a company?
Specific of like, Pareto, where can we do 20% of the work and get 80% of the output, or specific for our product offering?
Specific for your product offering.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. So I started Champify with two co-founders because of a problem we dealt with firsthand at Heap, right? And what that meant was from like 0 to 15 million in ARR, we got really good at outbound. Now doing this in 2016, 2017, 2018 was a very different time, right? Like you could get Crunchbase and Zoom Info and outreach and do magical things and get SDRs booking 20, 30 meetings a month. Like that time has gone away. Like people responding to outbound messages is 10 times more challenging. I personally think AI is just making that problem way worse, and it's going to continue to make it harder and harder to stand out. I think there's a window for cold calling right now. We book most of our meetings over the phone. I think that window is going to start to close as well because spam blockers and people not wanting to answer their phones. What is not going away is great sales, marketing, and product experiences that people have had with your brand. right? I met Jenny and I had a great sales experience, or I've been consuming their content and getting value from it, or the onboarding was incredible, or the product team continuously delivers on issues we have. People remember those experiences, right? And what we found is that, 2 to 3% of people are changing jobs every month, many of which are going into accounts that customers care about, but they're leaving it up to a 23-year-old SDR that doesn't have the right resources to go and act on that. Right. So I think what we're seeing is kind of shift back to more traditional sales tactics that have been around for hundreds of years. And our product's well positioned to help people capitalize on that. And to
Yeah.
answer your question directly, it's like, people that have really good RevOps process, we found that they miss 85 to 90% of what we deliver, when most people think they do a really good job on this. And that's where stuff like the impact study helps educate people on the gap using real data.
No, I love that. I also really like, you didn't say it directly, but implied with bringing up AI and how it's kind of making some things more difficult, but it's ultimately just coming back to that, like, more human. People ultimately want to buy from a human and not a robot. And that sounds very key.
And I'm super bullish on AI. I think there's some really great use cases. We have a lot of great use cases in our product on, who are the right titles, what are the right recommended actions, right? But I don't know about you, Jenny. I get 10 automated AI-driven emails every day. I never open one of them, right? And I think all that's doing is clouding the brain space for people that are doing really, really tailored, high-value outreach to solve a legit problem I have. Further making this problem more challenging, regardless of how good this AI gets, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it makes so much sense. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. And just reiterate, if people have questions or trying to reach out, is the best way just through LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I'm pretty active on there. Feel free to shoot me a DM. If anything we said about Champify, you can go to our website and learn a bunch more. Or even if you're just trying to think through outbound and go-to-market strategies, I'm happy to riff up with people. We've made a ton of mistakes here at Champify. I've made all the mistakes at my Heap journey. This stuff's hard and always changing, and there's no silver bullet, right? It's constantly tweaking on whatever metric can be improved and then work on the next one. So I appreciate Jenny inviting me and having me on, and thanks everyone for taking some time out of your busy days.
Yeah, thank you. Oops. Sorry, Todd, didn't mean to cut you off so quickly. So next up, we will be joined by Bill. He will be joining us shortly. Just for some more information, our second block will be released. This has so many great speakers. If you haven't gone to the demandgensummit.com website, please go check it out. It's definitely worth your time. But the 11 o'clock block will be released here in like 2 minutes. Speakers that it's featuring is Neeti Patel. She is speaking on how quick wins to get you fast growth. We will also be joined by Clint Betts. He is the CEO and founder of many well-known communities, one here in Utah, which is Silicon Slopes, and as well as CEO.com. He's really trying to dive into that community-driven strategies for driving growth, and has a lot of really great insights on how to leverage communities in your demand gen process if that's something you're looking to do. We will also have a session by Lisa Ferris. She is truly an expert when it comes to running ads. It seems like they have a really great pulse on product marketing, but she will be talking about the importance of multi-channel implementation, but really focusing in on how you can have more successful ads, how you can have a more successful outbound strategy. So go check that out. And then lastly, we have Danny Wolf. They are talking on navigating the trust barrier, effective marketing strategies for skeptical IT buyers. So if you are selling to skeptical IT buyers, make sure to check it out. I watched it this morning and it's definitely worth your time. All right, so while we wait for Bill, just hang tight and we'll get back to you shortly. let's try that again. Coming from you guys live, clearly we're having some technical difficulties, but just for those of you who don't know Bill is the CEO at Sales Captain, which is an outbound sales agency for high growth tech startups. He authored the book Cold Email Secrets and was named top lead generation voice on LinkedIn in 2024. Bill will be diving into the end of the BDR with AI-powered cold email campaigns. Okay, Bill, adding you in. Anything I can help with presentations?
I think it should be good. Let me try and share my screen. Because there will be...
And if it's slides, you can either do Google Slides or upload from your computer. Or I believe you can share your screen if that's just easier. And once I see it pop up, I can add it to our live.
All right. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we're working. So I'll hand it off to you. Thank you, Bill.
All right, perfect. Hello, guys. Good to be with you, and thank you for tuning in. I'll start taking you back in time. It was Lisbon around January of 2021. In the middle of COVID, I know. I'm lucky enough, I'm not Portuguese, so I was just traveling there and having a lot of fun, exploring the different restaurants and kind of like the amazing vibe of people in Portugal. And at the time, I was working with my current co-founder at Sales Captain at one of his businesses, a creative agency. And we were actually doing quite well with regards to lead generation via cold email. He had his team who were based in Asia. We wanted to generate attention from the US market, US, UK market, but a few different regions that he didn't really have market awareness, branding, or any kind of presence, which caused, a lot of different challenges. So we found cold email, and it worked actually really, really well for us. Like, this is a screenshot from one of the responses that we received. We've been running those campaigns ever since from Vivian Westwood, which, was just proof of how well it was working. And it was at a cafe. I remember exactly the time and place. I remember what it looked like. And he said, why don't we do what we do for other companies? At that time, I had already been head of growth at a growth marketing agency. So I had already seen the agency world. And that's how, in the middle of COVID, without ever having met him in person, we started Sales Captain. It went really, really well, working with companies from the US market, the UK market again, booking calls with enterprises, proving that cold email works, using the same recipes to recruit speakers and build a lineup at AdWorld, and a lot of amazing things. And we actually went so well, it went so well for us, that within 2 years, we built a team of 30 plus data analysts, which, some might say it's amazing, but it came with its own set of issues. So what was the role of the data analyst for us? So it was collecting company data, visiting the website and verifying company info, segmenting prospects using custom instructions. Let's say we want to do marketing agencies that only do programmatic advertising, or do more advertising related solutions and more creative. And then manually enriching using prospect data, verifying missing emails. Like, we went to the extreme of, like, if we couldn't find verifiable business emails, the team would put together all possible combinations of a business email. We would put it on a Google Sheet, manually blast emails, and whatever address ended up not, sending us back, this address doesn't exist, we knew that it was the right email. So, it went well, but it also had a lot of different challenges. And, I know that we're not alone in that. So I hear you saying, okay, like, what's your problem? Your agency was growing, you were doing well, you were getting results for clients. So what's the issue? And my issue actually was the entire lead generation model, or at least the old version of the lead generation model, aligned with the version of a sales team that has to have a big BDR department, BDRs doing manual campaigns and manual outreach, which is hard to scale, is really costly because you have to pay every individual team member that you have and that you employ, and bonuses, etc., etc. Spam issues making automated outbound harder to work. It takes a lot of time to test new campaigns because you have, you have to do it the manual way. You have to research the prospect, go to the website, verify the details, and you rely in general too much on manual work. And that's a big shame. I mean, if you're a big company, that's amazing. Like if you have Microsoft's budget to build sales teams, no issue with that. But what about smaller companies where cold email has so many amazing use cases, from obviously being a revenue channel as we used it, to being used for fundraising, helping companies achieve product market fit, and understand what kind of messaging resonates for their target audience, as well as for market feedback and a lot of things like that. So we said, okay, what can we do with it, and what can we do about it? And this is not in the slides, but we identified that early on, the hype about AI, which is the topic of the presentation, was all about how can we write the perfect cold email flow, the perfect sequence, the perfect email using AI. And everyone was trying to put together these custom ChatGPT prompts or using a few different tools to try and craft perfect cold email sequences. And we know through experience that that doesn't really work. Like AI will probably work for that, and will probably be able to automate the entire sequence, but we're not there yet. So the areas that we identified are the most beneficial to be using AI and can literally allow you to speed up a lot of your processes. In our case, it allowed us to literally be able to replace 30 team members that were doing manual lead generation for us with 3 revenue growth experts. And one of the tools I'm going to be sharing with you is the kind of transformation that we're discussing. So we identified that there's a few different areas. The first one, obviously, with list building is segmentation and understanding of who your prospects are. So bringing in multiple data sources and then analyzing them and building scoring models for the different prospects that you have. So you can have a list of agencies. If, let's say, you want to target marketing agencies, but not every marketing agency out there has the same criteria, is the same kind of business. So you can have pretty much everything using AI, scoring models to personalizing some intro lines or some content for your outreach, to a little bit more advanced things. So, and this is exactly what I want to share with you today. What is AI list building, and how can we make it a scalable process? Not necessarily replacing BDRs, but giving them a tool that allows one BDR to do the work of 10 BDRs, as it was in our case. Our secret sauce for email AI personalization, and finally 5 bonus templates using Clay that allow you to automate list building. So we've built and experimented over time with many different scenarios. We've handpicked a few that are really interesting and can work across different sectors. I would put them together, and this is what I want to share with you. Kind of a little bit of my background, not that I really mind it or care about it, but yeah, CEO of Sales Captain, former head of AdWorld. I've grown quite a few B2B tech businesses, tech and service businesses, wrote the book Cold Email Secrets, putting together kind of like the foundation for what cold email is. I've interviewed a few interesting people in the field of marketing, business, and entrepreneurship, and built the lineup for AdWorld using some of the Clay and email automation tips that you'll see. There's a lot of resources and a lot of templates. You can access them, even before the presentation is over. You can scan the QR code or visit the link. From free Clay credits to all the templates that you're going to see. We're trying to literally just share everything away. And obviously, the best thing you can do is get connected on LinkedIn, stay in touch on LinkedIn, because we post a lot of content. So what changed and what is actually new with this entire process? And I'll try to make it as conversational as possible at this point. So the first one is one out of many different tools that allow us to take care of multiple parts of the lead generation and list building process in general. Because as I said, there's many things you can do with AI, from cold calling to AI email replies. We're not there yet. But what AI is really good at is allowing you to build lists, enrich them with data, writing custom emails with AI. And why we love Clay for list building, you can think of Clay literally like a Google Sheet. That's literally what we were using as well, where you can embed multiple data sources. So if you're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can get data from LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If you're using Apollo, you can get data from there. If you're manually scraping data from any place on the internet, including, let's say, LinkedIn, you can do that. If you want to bring in data from StoryLeads or Built With and target specific companies based on the technologies they use, You can do all these things. And the bonus is you can actually combine multiple sources. So you can say, bring me a list of built with companies, enrich them with, let's say, funding data from Crunchbase, add intent signals using a different platform, and then write custom emails for every one of the prospects on that list. So these are some of my favorite use cases, along with the fact that it enables waterfall prospect enrichment, which is another amazing hack that allows you to literally 3x the amount of valid email addresses you get. Waterfall prospect enrichment is pretty much the process of, instead of using one tool to verify and find email addresses, you use multiple tools in a row for every prospect. And when one tool works, you say, okay, I found the email that works, it's verified, it's valid. I don't need to test it out with multiple emails, and you don't have to do all of this manually. And obviously segmentation and message personalization. So Clay templates and starting to get deep. I'll try and share my screen as well at the same time and walk you through kind of like how it works and some of the different parts of the flows so that it becomes as hands-on and interesting as possible. The first workflow that we put together, and I think it's something that most in the audience can resonate with, is targeting local businesses. The kind of like some of the issues or the elements of targeting local businesses, and I've outlined everything here, is let's start from use cases. So could be physical therapists in New York, fine wine stores in London. I think this is the template that we're going to be seeing. Car dealerships in Germany, accountants in Greater London in a specific radius, bars in Mykonos if you want to sell solutions to the travel industry or the hotel industry. So a few of the implications of a workflow like that, if you're trying to reach out to local businesses, the first one is company name. A lot of times, especially if you're getting your data from Google Maps, let's say you go on Google Maps and you download a list of local businesses in Germany, you'll have things like limited and other extensions in the company name, which you don't want. So that's kind of like the first element. Second one is normalizing the location. So you can select between street, neighborhood, normalizing the website, and then finding the different technologies that they might be using. Let me show you what it looks like so you can get a better idea, and then I'll discuss a little bit more about some of the different workflows. All right, so here we are within Clay. As I said and promised, it literally looks like a Google Sheet. The first part is always the first column. The first column is where you get the business data from. And in our case, we're targeting local businesses. We're using the Google Maps data source. So you can go here, and we've built quite a few different examples. So the example here is literally physical therapists in New York. If I click edit, you can actually select anything you like. And you can even select a different region. You can use it geofencing. So if you want to have not necessarily a specific city, but a region or a custom area, you can also do that. And it gives you a list of the businesses. So that's the first part. The second one is normalizing the company name, which Clay allows you to automate and pretty much do almost for free. That's amazing. Along with the business name, obviously you get the business address, but the business address looks a little bit like this. It's not exactly what we have in mind. So you can also have normalizing the location here. And again, this kind of work, if you wanted to use that kind of data, would have taken someone physically and manually doing that labor by themselves. So we normalize the address even further. That's the output. We get the phone number because it's Google Maps, so you get the data. We also scraped the number of reviews from Google, because what we wanted to do in this particular case is we wanted to target businesses that have more than 10,000 orders a month. So we made an assumption that if a local business has more than 1,000 reviews, and every single person that buys from a business has a 10% chance of leaving a review, meaning that someone who has 1,000 reviews or above has received at least 10,000 orders. So we did kind of like a lead scoring system like that. We got the reviews, got the ratings, we got the website, obviously, and the website name. And then we said, okay, why don't we find different technologies that the businesses are using and see if there's any e-commerce component so that they're already selling online. So we use built with, and you can literally select either different technologies, specific technologies, and filter by that, or just get the full list of technology that they use. We had the number of total technologies here. We also went deeper and analyzed the website traffic they received, again, because we wanted to build a formula to identify, is this a small business, is it a big business? And then the interesting thing about local businesses as well, and this is when it becomes both challenging as well as fun, is it's easy to get the generic email address, which is fine if the business is really small, but in many cases, that's not the email address you want. Because if it works to an automated system, the kind of response you get is like a ticket, we received your email, and we'll reach out soon. So what we did is we used Clayagent, which is one of the features that Clay has. It's an AI agent, so an AI chatbot, if you will, that can follow specific orders. So in our case, what we said is visit the website of the company, and we have the company name, the website name. When you visit the company, I want to know who the owner of the company is. The way I usually do this is by searching for an About Us page or a Meet the Team page. So we actually built that kind of prompt here, somewhere that the owner's name would be listed. Once you find the owner's name, just output the name. And only output names that you're more than 95% confident that they are the actual owners. Keep in mind that the species task is very important. This is like, sometimes you have to, what we say, bully AI. So you say, you might say, I might get fired if you don't get this right. You don't have to do that, but we saw that it actually increased the accuracy of the data we received. So that way, for some of the businesses, you have the company name, the company owner's name, and then you also have their email address. Okay. What happens if that's not the case for every business? Well, that's where we also use tools like Apollo, which are embedded natively. And we can find not just the company name and the owner, but we can also find the LinkedIn profile. Obviously, because it's Apollo, we can get revenue data, company description, and additional email addresses. So what you see here is the entire table. We haven't enriched all 300 or however many businesses it is here, but for the businesses that we did find the addresses. You can see here we were using different tools to be able to identify that. Again, solving for the different issues that have to do with local legion. And that's the thing about it, as we'll still keep seeing different examples. With Clay, you can literally build custom workflows for literally every single use case that you have. So we had LinkedIn company enrichment. What if you wanted to get a specific industry? And then you could also find employees from LinkedIn, right? So if the company is big enough and you can find them on LinkedIn, you can also use Clay as a second step, besides just finding the business owner, to also find details about the other employees in the company. The second one, which is obviously a use case that we've really exploited, is Legion for agencies. Assuming you're a marketing agency, web development agency, doesn't really matter what kind. You can definitely research and build prospect lists for yourselves. Again, could be an SEO agency, ad agency, e-com agencies, creative agencies. It really has worked for all types of different businesses. The workflow, let me just share my screen again and we can go back on Clay. We really went deep, and with this example, we actually had OpenAI, which integrates with Clay, also create a personalized line that we use. So that's one of the different kind of elements that we have here. But in terms of the workflow, it was a really straightforward one. We used LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So we literally targeted companies that are hiring for specific roles, because we are an agency. So if someone's hiring for a role, a really good use case is, that they might be willing to hire an agency instead of hiring a full-time employee. So we used that list, enriched it with job titles, normalized the job title that they're hiring for using AI and ChatGPT, then enriched the company, found the different people, and then wrote an email which actually included the title of the role that they were hiring for. Let me show you what that looks like. So there it is. We imported the jobs. We actually did that. It's a really straightforward LinkedIn Sales Navigator search. That's how you start building your table. It gives you the list of companies, the titles they're hiring for, the title clean, because we didn't really want to use Business Development Manager UK within the email itself. Here's what it looks like. Hiring for cleaned. I'll give you a job title that needs to be cleaned, and this is literally an OpenAI prompt. So it's not necessarily that Clay is doing something crazy. We could have had a Google Sheet integrate with OpenAI using GPT for Sheets, and do all of that work within that interface, but we can do it within Clay. And actually, one of the secrets here is if you have an OpenAI API key, which you probably have if you're doing things like that and activities like that, you can actually integrate with Clay, and that way you're not paying Clay for that kind of work. You're just using your OpenAI credits, and it can happen with no charge within Clay. So we gave a few different examples. We gave a few different kind of like additional instructions, and we kept tweaking until we actually had a good output. And as you can see here, from many different types of inputs, hiring for and different titles, we get, really the results just cleaned and nice and neat. We then enriched the company because we wanted to get, company description, whatever it is in each case, from LinkedIn, the company name, obviously normalized companies' names, website, industry, employee count. And these would all be filters, right? Like we might only be helping businesses that are hiring for business development, but in specific niches. Or if someone's hiring a business development manager and they're a lead generation agency, they're probably a competitor of ours, so we don't want to reach out. We then filtered the company type. Again, you can do company type filtering B2B versus B2C. This prompt is actually pre-made within Clay, so we just enabled it. And you can literally add new fields by clicking add enrichment, and then you can have any type of data you want. Maybe you want to check GitHub or find the industry, use Instagram job openings, like everything you want, even finding their logo, site traffic data, everything is within here. Then we did something else that's interesting. We went into the not the website, but we used the LinkedIn data about what the company does, and we had ChatGPT give us kind of like the main offering, distill the main offering in a few different words, and the target customer that they have, because we wanted to use that kind of data within the email that we created. And then we also found 3 prospects. So that way, when we reach out, we can have a really custom email that says, hey, if you're targeting companies like A, B, and C, and you're offering these kinds of solutions, instead of hiring, let's say, a BDR manager, you can instead do A, B, and C. Or, hey, here's how we help companies like A, B, and C, and you can list out some of their competitors. Or if you want to outrank some of the competitors, and again, we've built this sheet here to be really custom and have all different kinds of things, including the technology that they use, including website traffic. And there's a lot of different things that you could have done here. Let me show you how kind of it flows back into a real life use case and a template that we put together for a few different cases. So here, what you can do is, let's say you're doing lead gen for an SEO agency, subject line conversions drop. Hi, first name, I noticed that your Google page speed score has dropped to score out of 100. So from the table I showed you, it's really easy to just find someone's Google page speed score for the website, which tells you from Google's kind of rendering machine what's their score and how optimized they are out of 100. Have you seen any drop in conversions lately? We work specifically with companies that do A, B, and C to optimize their digital presence and help them stop losing up to 3x leads. So imagine if you reach out to someone who's, let's say, a carpenter, and you say, we work specifically with carpenters to optimize their digital presence and da-da-da-da. So by including these like small tweaks there, it makes the outreach so much more personal, and obviously increases your chances at having a positive response. Mind if I share a framework we used? PS, this will also help you rank higher on Google than competitor. And how do we know that? We know that because we've used Clayagent to give us a list of their competitors based on what their company does and their LinkedIn details. Another template here for digital advertising for media buying agencies. I noticed you're targeting target customer. And again, this is a field that we found from Clay, and we already have that. We found it from their website description. Have you explored programmatic media buying for your company? I'm asking because we helped a different company reduce their customer acquisition cost by 40%. Mind if I share a framework we used to make this happen? So this is exactly how you can do it. Same lead generation if you're a B2B software business. We did a few different tweaks here. And again, the industry doesn't really matter. It could work for a fintech business, construction software, AI tools, enterprise software, recruitment, HR platforms, university ambassador platforms, literally any kind. For this case, we found companies using specific tools. Let's say it could be your competitor. If a company is using a tool that you can identify and it's your competitor, you can actually find the company using Built With. Again, enrich the company with LinkedIn, normalize the company name, identify the industry a bit better, segmented the companies into B2B and B2C. You might only want one versus the other. Segmenting the companies using different criteria, departments that they have. An interesting hack here is maybe you only want to target companies that have, let's say, 10 plus developers. How would you do that? In the old BDR model, you'd have to have the BDRs manually fetch, the list of the company's employees and actually go through and do the research manually. With ChatGPT, you can now and Clay, you can literally just fetch the data from LinkedIn, enrich the company, and then just ask the prompt. Let me show you really quickly what the table looks like, because we're slowly starting to run out of time. This is it here, B2B software. Normalize the company. Again, website from built with, enriching the company, normalizing the company, finding the industry. The interesting thing here is the kind of industry that we can get using ChatGPT and Claygen is a lot more targeted than using the industry identification. So as you can see here, the data we got from LinkedIn was like e-learning providers and media production, and then the specific industry that Claygen allowed us to find by going to the website was education. Or instead of telecommunications, we found SMS marketing. Instead of software development, it was enterprise software. Instead of medical or industrial engineering, it was manufacturing. Software development, text to speech. So the difference in how granular the information can become and how targeted is just vastly different. You can get employee count, and then you can find employee headcount by criteria. So in here, you can say how many HR people they have. Do they have fewer than 10 people? Do they even have any people? So in our case, we wanted to check for a specific role. I don't really remember what we run the example. Yeah, we said managers and VPs, but it can really be any job title keyword. And some companies had many, VPs and managers. Some had none. Again, company type, main offering, target customers. This is how you find all these details. And let's go back to start slowly wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm just jumping on to give you, sorry, Patrick, give you the few wrap up. If there's one last thing you'd like to share.
Sure. You can do the exact same thing with a lot of different types of data, targeting LinkedIn events, targeting LinkedIn influencers, people who post about specific content. An interesting one we found is connecting our B2B with Clay to target website visitors. And yeah, literally that's pretty much it. Lead generation has become a much, much different game than it used to be. All the template work, the Clay workflows, the templates, email templates, and a few different bonuses, we have it on the link. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your time, guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bill. Thanks for joining us today. Great. So now that we've concluded Bill's presentation, we'll go ahead and go into our next one. We'll be joined with Patrick. Patrick is the founder and fractional CMO at Video Peel, a #1 video survey solution for employee engagement, customer feedback, and customer support. Go ahead and add you to the stage, Patrick, and we'll get your slides here so you can get going.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to work with you so far. I'm excited to be part of this conference. Guys, this is a fun topic, something that I've been in the middle of for probably the past close to 9 years with Video Peel. So something that's true and dear to my heart. So let's kick it off. I really am grateful for having this chance to just quickly introduce myself. So when you think of Patrick Tejumulia, I wanted to introduce myself through these 2 photos. So this is kind of fun. This is more of a opportunity for you to get to know me, and I'm all about family. I'm going to share with you two photos that talks about a little bit about us. I was working at Facebook. This is several years back, and I wanted to invite my family to come visit. And my son, at the time, he was 2 years old. He comes and he's riding his Strider bike on Facebook campus there in the Bay Area, in Menlo Park. And I didn't think anything of it. And then one moment I see him, he's about to run somebody over. And who was it that he basically ran into was Mark Zuckerberg. Really cool experience. We got to have lunch with him. He was really kind. I have tremendous respect for him. I had a great opportunity to work at Facebook and to help them with their advertising tools and be able to enhance and launch ads reporting and ads manager launches and business manager launches, etc. So that was a really great experience. I saw what it was like to really help enable every business to be able to say really whatever they wanted to consumers. And it really is what motivated me to start Video Appeal. I saw that there was a huge opportunity for me to just be able to understand and help businesses better understand what people really wanted to know before they bought, and then be able to deliver to them real authentic experiences from customers like them. I'll tell you more about this, but that's the Facebook experience that led me towards Video Appeal. And then a recent look into who I am and my family. So here's the cool picture. This is actually last week. So this was an opportunity where we had to be part of The Chosen. So you might know this TV series. But that same little boy that ran over Mark Zuckerberg is there on the left. That's my oldest son. And we got to be a part of the scene where Jesus cleanses the temple. And it was a super cool experience. Our kids were prominent. They were the first ones to sing Hosanna after he had cleansed the temple. So it was a really emotional experience. I love family and I love real experiences, as you can tell, and being able to provide real experiences to real people. Now let me go back. So how does my background set up the conversation we're going to have today? So let me go back towards a time when I really wanted to understand. This was after my Facebook days. I really wanted to understand why people buy and what do they want to know before they buy. And I went on this journey and I did a lot of research. And what capsulated my findings really was this quote from Linda Avey. So she was a co-founder of 23andMe. You might know these guys. They really started the whole genetic being able to read your DNA revolution, where people could be able to be more familiar with their ancestry, where their backgrounds are and who they really were. Anyway, so when I asked her that question, I asked her, what do you want to know before you buy? And she gave me like one of the best answers that really resonated across a lot of the other people that we spoke to in this research study. And she said, I want to hear from people who are like me, that have real experience with the product. And that's what took me into this journey. And I think most of us marketers, sales leaders, CEOs, etc., we're trying to get to that position where we can deliver messaging to the right people that really helps them want to buy. And what do they want to know before they buy? And uncovering this insight is something that most people, I think, don't get to in their sales, in their demand gen efforts. They don't get to the point where they can deliver real experiences from real people that are like you. Most of the sales demand gen efforts that I see today are very one-sided. You're trying to tell a story. You're trying to show the features, the benefits. You're trying to share a white paper. You're trying to be able to, even sometimes people are going as far as recording a video of themselves. But what I'm trying to introduce to you today is I'm trying to say, that's not what people are looking for when they want to make the decision about if they're going to buy your software, if they're going to buy your product, your service, your solution. They want to know from people like them their real experience with using the product. And today I'm going to share with you how you can implement this, how you can start generating user-generated content to increase demand for your product or service, where you can grow your product or service through real experiences from real people. So let me begin. So if you think about real experiences from real people and being able to really demonstrate the experience that someone like you is having. If you think about the past, where the world we lived in, and we still live in it, which is for me, it just blows me away that most companies are still living in this text-focused world, where all they do is collect text-based text-based reviews and text-based testimonials, and they allow for text-based customer support, and they communicate on their website just via text. So we lived in this 2D world, and we still are living in this 2D world. Even if like all technology has advanced beyond this and gone into video, most companies are still in this 2D world. Now, it doesn't matter if platforms have evolved beyond that. I find most companies are still in the 2D world. How can you bring your demand generation efforts to life? That's what I want to talk about, right? How can you go from this example where, you know, your sales rep is saying, let me send you a white paper that includes a deep dive into all our features and benefits for our product. I see that like every day. I see that personally, you know, in emails that are coming my way, on LinkedIn reach outs that are coming my way. How can we turn that into a world where you're actually showing them people like them and the experiences that they're having with your product? That's the leap that I'm suggesting and recommending that you should take. So here are some ideas. I thought, like, how can I make this really practical, right? How can I bring this to life for you so that you can think about how you can do this in your business? So most people today are really just pushing out their information to a potential candidate. And what I've seen done really well, and I want to introduce this to each of you, is the idea that how can you pull, right, with video? How can you pull people in with video? And BMW Northwest, which is a dealership, it's a service center for Teslas and BMWs, does this really well. I know this might be not applicable directly via industry, but the principle can be applicable to you. Now, let me paint this picture. Think about offering on your website a virtual estimate. Now, what do I mean by that? Is letting your potential customer submit you a video where they are showing what they want done, what problem they want solved, what is the situation that they're currently having, and describing and showing to you what that problem is that they need solved. What if you could offer that as an opportunity for your customers to bring to life their needs, their problems to you? We've seen this done really well with BMW, where they are offering this virtual estimate where people that have problems with their Teslas and BMWs film with their own phones the crash, the dent, the problems they had with their vehicle, and be able to submit that via video and then receive back an estimate of what that would cost for them to repair that vehicle. So here's the simple illustration. Imagine, you know, you're a car owner of a Tesla and you reach out to this dealership and you say, I was recently involved in a car accident where my Tesla got banged up. I'm curious how much you would charge to repair it and bring it back to its original condition, if that's even possible. Now, how in the world is your team going to be able to respond accurately to that request by a simple text message? You don't know the condition of the vehicle. You don't know any more details of the vehicle than from what this individual just submitted via text, via a simple request. You're going to have to set up a time for them to come into your office. You're going to have to meet with them. You're going to have to be able to inspect the vehicle personally. Now, what if you could jump across all those steps and have that person submit a video where they're showing in multiple angles every piece of the problem in their vehicle, and then be able to share with you the information you would need to look up and put together a proper estimate. So this is getting to a world where your sales process, your demand generation efforts becomes a pull, uses video, and you're able to actually be able to put together a personalized solution and response. You could even do it with video, which I think is really the next gen in this effort, and be able to close that deal faster than ever before. This has been a fantastic new solution that was brought to BMW Northwest, and I'm excited to be able to see how we could do this more with each of your guys' companies. Now let me go to the next one. When I think about how do you generate more real experiences from real people, you need to, as a company, be able to start introducing video along your customer journey. So what do I mean by that? So think about how you can include in your customer journey a video assessment. Now, let me give you an example of this. So a lot of you, are thinking more about the start of the customer journey before they purchase. But let me tell you that if you're not focused on how you can generate content of real experiences of people after the purchase, you won't have the content to be able to show to others pre-purchase. So you need to focus on what's happening in the post-purchase phase of the customer journey. So, as they are setting up, as they're installing your software, as they are implementing your solution, how can you incorporate into their into their setup phase, into their onboarding phase, a video assessment, right? This is a powerful opportunity for you to be able to ask them to show you the process of them implementing and receiving the benefits of this. There's many ways you can do this, and I'll give you an example. And I'm giving you examples that I have the permission to share. So here's a training studio for belly dancers. Okay, now again, I think about case studies as we always can learn from a case study, no matter the industry. So you're an educator trying to educate belly dancers, and you have this brand new formula for how they can perform at their best. What are you going to do during the process of your course, of your training? You're going to incorporate video assessments where that student can actually record their performance after each training module and be able to share it with you. So right there, the request is not, will you give me a video testimonial? The request is, show us how our training, our solution, our product is helping you along your customer journey, along your journey to increase performance, to gain more revenues, to make more sales, whatever it might be. Give them the opportunity. And there you will unlock so much more content that you can utilize in that pre-purchase stage. Now, this is the one that I think most people aren't familiar with and most people haven't journeyed into, is when you are thinking demand gen, you need to think how you are retaining your customers with proper customer service. And I can't emphasize this enough, where if you're stuck in the 2D world of customer service, where the only way a customer can actually relate to you, the experience they're having, is through text, you are behind the game. And we have seen this work tremendously well, especially with medical product type companies, where consumers or customers that are using your software, using your products, using your services are need to be able to show what's happening in order to get the support they need from your sales reps, from your support reps, from your customer success reps, whatever they are. Now, this is very easy to do. And most people think, oh, we've got a customer support platform, but it doesn't allow for video. Well, we are seeing our clients every single day be able to use Video Peel to be able to introduce accepting videos for customer support. Now, why would you want to do that if you're the salesperson? Again, let me explain. So you're trying to build your library of real experiences from real people like you, meaning the potential buyer. So if you can increase your video library of all these videos from people that are like the potential buyer you have, and they're showing you their real experiences with the product, you're going to win. You're going to increase more deal flow, and you're going to be able to convert at a faster rate. So even when it comes to customer service, you need to be able to start being able to collect videos. So let me give you an example. So you need to move from this phase where you're like, thank you for sending me my new brace. It fits perfectly and has completely changed my smile for the better. But after 2 months, the automated feature doesn't turn on sometimes. Any suggestions? So this is, one of our clients. They basically create these braces, right? These transparent braces for your teeth. And they were having a really hard time being able to service customers that their implants didn't fit properly, and they weren't able to assess if they needed to create a new implant, send a new molding process for them to measure the size of their bites or not. And so with introducing video to the customer service, they were able to collect people talking and sharing about the real experiences they were having, both positive and of course both negative, but being able to actually assess and be able to respond quickly and be able to improve satisfaction for the customer. So this all ties together. And now I will share with you the results of this in later on in the presentation. But as you can tell, you're trying to figure out, how can I increase the number of content pieces that I can have of real people and their real experiences with your product. Now, it doesn't just apply to customers. Let me talk about your own employees. So I can't emphasize this enough. Like, as a potential customer, I want to quickly understand the experience, the reputation, the culture of a company. Is it going to last long? Is the solution that I'm going to be implemented, is going to be continued to be maintained? I need to understand the culture of this company. So as you are in your sales process, I have so many clients that are always wondering, like, how can I get more content? I want to be able to showcase who we are as a company. You need to, as a company, be able to be collecting not only customer experiences through video, but your own employee experiences through video. So what I mean by that, right? So as your HR organization, or as you as a CEO, think about, like, how am I helping to capture the real culture in my company and be able to disseminate that? So as potential customers are coming and learning about my company, they will see the culture, they will see the people, they will see who are the ones that are servicing them, who are the ones and what their attitudes are, how excited they are about working in your company, and what is their overall perception of customers. Like, there's so many opportunities for you to be able to capture from your own employees what they think about the brand, what they think about servicing customers, how impressed they are with the kind of culture that you are implementing, that you as a sales manager are implementing, the benefits that you get as a salesperson. All of these things can be brought to life through real video from your employees. So I encourage you to use video surveys to collect videos about your employees. So here's an example, right? So here there's an employee that says, I love working here. This place is really making a difference for small businesses. So you could have like a text-based message that comes from one of your employees about that, but instead, like, collect a video from your employees, right? And here we did this with Hilton, right? In their hotels. Right? We were able to collect employees telling their experiences that they have with servicing and giving their guests the best possible experience, right? You want to be able to portray that, and you can bring that to life with video. Now, this is the one that everybody thinks about first, which is like customer testimonials, right? And I want to go deeper in this, right? So you might think, oh, it's super hard. I've tried this before. We've tried to collect video testimonials and it just doesn't work. We've used G2. G2 even has a way to collect video, and no one submits video. Like, I hear this every single day. And I think that for most companies, they do a little bit of work in trying to implement a solution to capture customer testimonials, but they don't spend enough time thinking about the right strategy in which they can collect these videos. Now, let me show you what I mean. So if you as a business are trying to start collecting reviews, you're going to collect text-based reviews because that's what Google accepts. That's what G2 generally focuses on, and that's what other places do. And so you're going to collect this testimonial that is, this was the best product we have ever used. I stayed in this job because of this product. This is great for X, Y, and Z. And that's it. That's it. Now, to what extent, if you're a potential buyer, can you really react? And can you really understand if this product is right for you from that review? It's very limited. it doesn't answer the question that Linda AV gave, is like, I want to hear from people like me who have real experience with the product. So really, what do you need to do? So we've seen this done by several companies who've skyrocketed, who've been able to collect a library, a video library of customers across every spectrum of their customer segmentation. So demographics, psychographics, right? Preferences, location, and be able to collect the real experiences, how those products have worked, showing the impact of that product, showing the results that have occurred because of them using that service, right? That solution, and putting it into a video library by which you as a brand can allow across any of your marketing and sales efforts, showcase someone like the person that is about to potentially buy, and be able to show them exactly somebody in that same industry who works for a different company or that lives in the same geographic area. You have to think about what are the characteristics of similarity that you really need to build the library around. It could be like people that are suffering the same problem, right? People that need the same type of solution to incorporate and connect their workflows, whatever it might be. But you need to think, what are your similar characteristics that you need to build within this video library? And then you need to develop a user-generated content capturing program. So I tend to lean to the side of inviting all my clients to create what I'm calling customer councils. So you're not going down the effort of, hey, I'm going to collect video testimonials. You're actually going down the road of, I'm inviting an exclusive number of customers to participate in my customer council. Now, this does two different things. So instead of just, if you're a customer and you see this request for, they just want me to give a video testimonial. Why would I do that? Even if you're paying them, they might be like that, right? They're like, oh, this is not really worth my time. What you need to be able to do to be able to get more engagement from your customer base is you need to create commitment. Now, what do I mean by that? So commitment can be created through something like, hey, if you send us this video testimonial, we'll be able to provide you additional services. Or if you send us an update on how this solution is doing, we will be able to, send you a gift card for your time. G2 does this, right? Like they actually pay. They even, depending on how much you pay as a brand, they even will give you the gift cards that you can pay your customers, right? From an unlimited amount. But what I'm trying to say is that commitment doesn't have to be like, I will pay you to get this video. Commitment can be, we're inviting you to this exclusive group called the Customer Council, where you will be part of directly working with our team that can really change the future of this product. Now that takes it to a whole nother level. When I worked at Facebook, we did this. We created the product council, and we were launching a third level to the campaign structure. So if you imagine, like Google had ad groups, we didn't. At Facebook, we only had ads and campaigns. So I introduced, together with the big team, we introduced the idea of we needed to have a layer within the campaign structure that would allow for better optimization, better budget management, better testing, etc. And we introduced ad sets. This was a foreign concept, a new concept. It wasn't foreign because Google was doing it, but it was a new concept to the Facebook ad infrastructure, to the Facebook community, to the Facebook partners, to everybody. And so how did we launch this? How did we determine the right types of configurations for what level of the campaign structure features should be put in, etc.? We created the product council. Some people might call it a beta council. I call it a customer council to allow it to extend beyond just beta testing a product. But if you can build your customer council, you all of a sudden have a group of customers that are there listening, ready to help you improve your product. And what's the benefit for them? Wow, you can't imagine that in this world, how people feel like they need to be part of something important. And especially in the B2B world, customer councils are very powerful because it's a way for So for people to actually want to participate as be part of a company in an informal way. Companies often that they love, that they're passionate about, that they will sweat and bleed for. Give your customers an opportunity to do that. Develop that community. It can be small, and you can grow it as big as you want. And there's really great ways to be able to manage this customer account. So Video Appeal does that for a lot of clients already. And then it becomes a process where you can start collecting those videos, be able to share those videos. And what do you do with the content? Wow, this becomes, you end up becoming a company that has like hundreds of videos of real people, like the customers you want to be able to convince to buy, who have experiences with your product. So you can use those on ads, right? So one of the examples here is AppSumo. They used Video Appeal to be able to collect customer video testimonials, and they turned them into ads. And I'll show you later on the case studies, like it did fantastic, right? So here's an example. Well, they were able to spend $21,000, use video testimonials in their ads to generate demand, and get a 10x ROI, a return on ad spend, right, with a 13% conversion rate. You will see that here's another company that utilized Video Appeal to capture video testimonials. They incorporated into the similar type of customer council program I'm talking to you about in terms of a loyalty program. And so they were able to capture hundreds of videos, and they utilized them across each of their specific product pages to be able to increase conversions, which was fantastic for them. And then here's the example that I shared earlier about the developing of a video library. Imagine like when you're answering questions as a salesperson and you're able to quickly go to a video library and quickly get a link to a video that you can share to close the deal on your sales. This is what I want to take you to. I want to take you to that level of ability and capability in your company so that your demand generation efforts are based on what people really want in order to know so that they can buy. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share this with you. If you want to take this to the next level, if we can help you, Video Appeal is here to help. But it doesn't matter if it's Video Appeal or another company. I want you to be able to show real experiences of real people to your potential clients, and you'll see the difference that it makes every day. Thank you so much. Maybe there's questions or so, Jenny, or maybe the next presentation needs to get started.
Yeah, we're out of time for this presentation, but if people have questions, feel free to reach out to Patrick. I did see a few in LinkedIn, so if you have time, you can probably go answer them there. But thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thanks, Jenny.
Great. So up next, we will be joined by Kendall. Kendall is currently the AI evangelist and technology advisor at Claris Communications. We're really excited to have him today, and he will be speaking on how to get leads in today's market, warm and cold outreach, posting free content, and running paid ads. Hey, Kendall.
Hello. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you great. I'll go ahead and add your slides, and we should be good to go.
Fantastic. No, well, one of the main things that I'm going to be talking about is using AI tools and strategies to be able to leverage your data and making sure that you're making your entire team and company be focused on the things that need to get done. And that is how to generate more leads and using AI to do that. And I'm going to talk about my experiences. And because I want to do that, and you can, if you have any questions, go ahead and you can scan the QR code, or even go to kendallmatthews.com, ask, and I can answer those questions for you. But the people I'm talking to is you marketers. And you can go ahead and stop sharing the screen, because I want to make sure I'm focusing on talking to the folks who are really going to make sure the things that need to be taking place. And that is how to be able to use these AI tools to get more qualified product demos. And that's what I've been able to do by utilizing a couple of different tools. I'm going to tell you a couple of things of how you can do that. Number one, it's now more than ever is to understand there's three areas that you need to focus on, and that is your people, your processes, and the tools that you have. And I'll focus on the people that and part of your team, and that people is going to be the sales team that you're partnering with, and of course your marketing team members, and the product team member that you're working with as well. Now, one of the areas that you have to understand is us marketers, especially for focusing on performance marketing and demand generation, are focused on how we're able to communicate, tell better stories, and all of these things. But how can we use the AI tools today to be able to do that? And one of the areas I found that's been very helpful is being able to use the ability to focus on those individuals who are in the sales team. For example, your sales development reps. How you're able to get the sales development reps and the AEs working together and getting the information they need. And a secret way to do that is you already have the information inside your data if you're focused on getting more product demos. Typically, what I found in the companies that I've worked with is once you have an AE, they use their Salesforce or even their HubSpot links to be able to put in what's called first meeting notes. And this is key for your marketing folks. You need to make sure that your entire team in performance marketing and your marketing team, your content creators, your video people, have access to the notes that your account executives or your SDRs are putting inside of your system. Now, you say, what is a first meeting note? Well, let me define that for you specifically. Your first meeting notes are when your AEs or your SDRs have a meeting with a qualified product in demo, and they're putting in the notes of, hey, here's what I've learned about this individual, and then is this lead qualified or not? So that's what your AE is putting inside of the system. Typically, it's going to be Salesforce or your HubSpot. When they put those notes inside the system and then they have that qualified lead with that AE and they have that meeting, those notes are very important for you as a performance marketers and demand generation to be able to read, understand, and know that the lead that you brought in is not a cold lead anymore. It is a warm lead because they had the demo and they're going to the next step. And for most companies, that is either working with the sales engineers to be able to go and figure out their specific use cases. Now, let's focus on that qualified product demo and those first meeting notes. If you're working with your AEs and sales development reps and understanding what they're putting inside of those first meeting notes, the main thing that you're looking for is the pain that your AE has identified that they need to, that your software, your platform, your service can make sure that they're taking care of those pain points. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for how to be able to create the pain to other individuals based upon that qualified individual that you've talked to, and then create more content from that. And that all starts with having great first meeting notes. So if you're a marketing leader, you need to make sure that you're working with your sales leadership team or your CEOs or COO or the chief product officers and making sure that the first meeting notes are very detailed oriented. Now, what you want to do with those first meeting notes is this, and here's where it gets great, is you're going to be able to take those first meeting notes, and what we've had in the companies I've worked with is from a Salesforce and Slack Zapier integration, all the information is put inside of Slack. And then when you get that notification, you have all these great data that you want to make sure all your team understands that this is of someone who's qualified. And taking that information from those first meeting notes, and you can download all that information. Once you download, and this is what's great that's going on, because as of this recording and as of this conversation, you have the OpenAI and Google just really some great information. What I had to do is pull this information, and it has the company they talked to. They had the first meeting notes like I talked about, and everything, even the industry that this company's in. You pull all that information into structured information, and then, depending upon if your company wants, is you place that information into any type of large language model that you're used to. So, for example, if you're going to use ChatGPT, and you can give that information, and here's the first step, is you want to ask ChatGPT to be able to pull this information and give you a table and create a table with the company name, and then also the first meeting notes. And what it's going to do is going to organize all this information for you a lot faster than what you can do on your own with copying, pasting, and putting into CSV files. And this is important, and I'm going to tell you why it's going to be very important for you to understand. having this information structured and having the AI tools to be able to do that for you. Because once you have it in a table, once you're uploading your data, if it's dependent upon your company requirements, then what you're going to do is you're going to ask it to create a content strategy. So asking your large language model tools to create a content strategy for you. And the reason why you want to do this, especially now, is to get the tokenizations and get them thinking about what you're going to be creating in the back end for you. So it's going to create a lot of content strategy. And you can create one your own because you've been doing this for a long period of time. But you want to get inside of that chat screen thinking about, hey, here's what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm focused on. And once you do that, once you have that content strategy, you want to make sure. And here's the first thing that it's going to be very helpful for you is once it creates that table for you, then you want to use the first meeting notes to create headlines. So you're going to use your prompt. You're going to put in a prompt to use all the first meeting notes to create headlines for you. And what I found is that all this information is created for you in a couple of seconds of creating all your headlines. Once you have those headlines created for you, then then you're going to be able to create another prompt. You're going to ask for the AI tools to be able to create headlines, create 25 headlines without the company name. So without the company name, that's going to be very helpful for you, because now what you're going to have is these headlines without company name. You're going to have headlines with company names with there, and you're going to have this file of all the pain points that your qualified product demos has occurred. So you see what I'm saying? This is going to be great, because what you're doing is you're targeting the audience who wants to talk to you. You're targeting the audience who's already talked with your AEs, potentially even talked with your sales engineers, and you've identified that this is a good prospect for you to continue on. And once you do that, once you take that information, then you create content that's already addressing their pain points. And that's what the beauty of being able to utilize these AI tools now. And it's so exciting to be able to do that. Putting that all together, once you have these headlines, you want to recreate these 25 headlines and get that information to be able to put that. And here's what I've done is put that into another tool, and a tool that's very helpful, because there's two places that I play in, and that is on LinkedIn and then YouTube. And the tool that I believe has been very beneficial for me and the people that I've worked with is called vidIQ. Because what vidIQ is able to do is able to fine tune those information that you already have. So you already know the pain point of those qualified product demos. So they're already qualified. You already talked to the AE, they're moving down the pond. You know what the pain point is. You know what their needs are for that industry, for that company. And then you have another tool like vidIQ or any other tool like using Gemini as well, to be able to create more of that target audience that you want to be able to focus on. Because once you're focusing on different target audiences that are actually qualified for you, now's the opportunity for you to create more content around that pain point, and using AI tools to do that for you at a faster clip. Understanding that this faster clip is a first step. And that's all it is the first step, so you can get the information out faster for you. And once you do that, once you put that information into a tool like vidIQ, there's a section in there that you can start from ideas from any of those headlines you have. And then in this AI tool, you're able to create something that's even better for you. You can be able to create the different type of thumbnails that you need, an outline for scripts, and then preview that information for you. Doing this, being able to use the different tools, especially the long language models now, you're going to be able to streamline your content strategy based upon those individuals who you've already deemed to be qualified. And that's what's key. That's what no one's really talking about right now, is what strategies that you can actually do today with the data that you have. Now, once you create these outlines and all this information that you have, what's so great about now is that with what I've run into a challenge and a problem before is how can I get my SDRs and my AEs on the same point for training and onboarding? Because remember, I talked about people, processes, and tools. So what is that processes with onboarding? Because it's great. You created all this content, you created all this information, you understand the pain point, but are your other team members going to be able to communicate to the next individuals that are coming through, your next prospects or these that are coming through, the right way? How you want them to be able to focus on the main pain points and identify those pain points, and then show them that your product, your service is able to help them out. So as of right now, what I'm so excited about, because my problem was I have all these SDRs and I have all to train about this process that I have. How can I, instead of me doing it over and over again, every time I'm hiring new individuals, how can I make sure all the right information is given at the same time with regards to training the pain points for our prospects when they're doing their onboarding? And so now that OpenAI has opened up free platforms, one of the things I can do, because of the teams that I have are global, is to be able to create these training GPTs. So using AI tools for training GPTs for onboarding, and then putting all of those qualified product demos information from that CSV file that I told you that we have already put in ChatGPT to spit out for us, and uploading your own internal training bots, and making sure that those internal training bots are using the data that says that this is the persons that we want to target, and then train your SDRs on that. And I have it's been able to save me time previously in doing this, because he had to have the Chat GPT Plus, the Pro version. But now, since everyone's free, it has freed me up to be able to start creating these bots and training bots, and then putting this into onboarding sequences based upon the things that we want for our SDRs and BDRs to understand, and how to communicate, even the AEs, how to communicate to those individuals who need to understand, do they fit the band requirements that we need. The next thing in utilizing these new tools, and because it's free now, is how can we have brand consistency? So yes, you're not utilizing the ChatGPT content or the headlines to create all the content for you, because for one, you need to make sure you're consistent with your brand, and you're not just going to give your brand over to any of these AI tools to be able to create content for you, but you also need to have consistency. And so utilizing these GPTs that are now free, now when I have team members who are in Latin America or who are in the EU, they can have training on our brand consistency, and then also be able to test and see if their content is consistent to what we want to have put out as on our LinkedIn post, to make sure that we're targeting our right audience, and give them some type of guidance or some suggestions to be able to do or make some small tweaks to the content. And that's what's been very exciting for me, to utilize these AI tools in helping with those people, the process, and of course the tools to be able to do that for increasing demand generation. One of the areas that I really think that we all need to make sure that we're understanding is that utilizing the AI tools, we're not going to give them away all of our creativity, giving away all of our opportunities of being able to think for ourselves. And that's what's great about demand generation, is because there's things that these AI tools can't do. There's signals that they can't do right now that you as a human being can do. You can understand that if there is a significant event in one of your target companies and your target accounts, if you focus on account-based marketing, if they had a great funding round, or if they hired some more individuals for their team, you can take that information and find that faster than any of the tools that are AI tools that are out there, and understand how it relates to your target addressable market, and then be able to create a plan of action to how you get in front of those individuals. And what I've seen right now is that there's a lot of, when you're doing your Google search, and now there's a lot of content that it used to be the links used to be there. Now it's a whole bunch of Reddit information where, all right, now all my links are gone. Now all that hard work that I did for SEO, it looks like it's evaporating. So now more than ever, there's 3 areas that you really need to think of. And that's how can I be more omnipresent inside and foreign to the target markets that we're looking at. And so how can I be focused on video creation? And what I've been focused on is using the mobile marketing and video first in everything that we create. So how can we make sure that if we're utilizing YouTube properly and utilizing that first, how can we utilize that information for text-based? And then how can we utilize that to help our sales development reps and our BDRs to communicate on LinkedIn and create posts and create engagement for them? And then once they do those engagements and putting in the information from HubSpot to be able to make sure that we're nurturing those individuals based upon their pain points to see if it's get that quick yes or no. And that's what's been great about utilizing these new AI tools now. So one of the things that what I believe that we all need to continue to remember is that it's our people, our processes, and our tools that we need to focus on every day, no matter what AI tools that we have. But then utilize these AI tools to figure out how can we better communicate to our target markets who are qualified primarily, and then build out strategies for those qualified individuals. Then utilizing those qualified markers that you have to give that to your outreach team. And a great tool that I found that's been very helpful for outreach has been Ample Market, and utilizing those platforms that have a great focus on outreach, and then communicating through those platforms very tight sentences for your outreach emails that you're going to be sending out to those individuals. That focuses on that pain point, giving something of value. That is the ability for right now to be able to create these AI tools, to be able to utilize more demand generation. So if you have more questions, of course, the opportunity is to go ahead and scan the QR code or go to kendallmatthews.com and just ask, and I can answer more questions even through a video. But the best way that I found is to be able to utilize your data that you already have. So make sure that your teams are focused on putting in those first meeting notes. If you're not doing that now, make sure you start doing that inside of your Salesforce or HubSpot CRM platform or whatever platform that you're using. Make sure your entire team is looking at those first meeting notes and discussing about them, and then creating strategy around those first meeting notes, because those are qualified. Then that's what you want, to focus on those individuals who are qualified. And then from those first meeting notes, utilizing the AI tools to create the visuals, to create the content, to create the stories that will be able to attract more leads. And that is what you can do today a lot faster than ever before. And that's what's so exciting about these times right now. Jenny, that's what I want to make sure that people are aware of. And so I want to give them time. And if you have any questions, I'm going to answer.
Yeah, we can give them a few seconds to see if we get anything come through. I don't know if you saw Drew Phillips' comment on LinkedIn.
I did not.
It's not really a question, but he brings up some interesting points. So he said, one thing to remember is that ChatGPT will view your upload table with all your first meeting notes as a single data set. So a great suggestion to generate a content strategy, but it won't vectorize the individual segments of data. Do you have any thoughts or feedback on that?
Yes. The reason why I asked them to just generate the content strategy is I already have a strategy, right? So as other marketers and performance marketers, we already have a strategy. But what I want to do is just prep so to think about the things that we want them to do. And that's the main thing. What I want to get is, what is the company or the firm's name? And I want to get clean information from the first meeting notes, and then start creating information around those type of things.
Great.
Get the headlines. Give me the bullet points. Give me something as a first draft that I can quickly be able to go over and create a great outline inside of my video that I create.
Yeah, no, I love that. Another question I saw is, what AI tools do you recommend and how to decide which are the most accurate and helpful.
Gotcha. So what I recommend first is, depending on your budget, is I used to focus on, hey, I'm just going to, since I'm paying for the pro version of OpenAI, I'm going to just use that. Then I'm like, no, I'm using OpenAI, Gemini, and Claude, and even Perplexity for sources, because I want to get the source information. So those are the tools that I pay. I pay for OpenAI's platform. Another tool that if you are have a marketing team of size, I use Jasper because they already have a lot of the great information for brand consistency built in. And that's so much easier than trying to use ChatGPT and having different people utilizing the different processes. Is have one marketing team platform and building that out. Jasper's great. But I think the tools and the budget that you have is like, what I found is, what can you, just working with your finance team, is here's a return of investment that I'm going to be able to have. And how long is that going to take? Don't forget that. The CEO that you're working with, the finance team is what you're working with. If we're going to put $5,000 into this project, when is the market return is going to be? And that's where you go back and talk about the content strategy, building it out, and putting all these different tools in that place. I would recommend focus on one tool. If we're starting out, depending on how large your team is, and get the free version of vidIQ and start building things up with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the second time vidIQ has come up today. So I guess that's the tool to use.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Another question that just came in developing a content strategy, are there so many components to consider? I think when there are so many components to consider, what should be included and how do you prioritize what those key components are?
Perfect question. So, and that's where going back to having your, when you're putting in your qualified product demo, a CSV file, and then putting that inside of your LLM or large language model that you use to come up with that content strategy. So we all know what that looks like. Key points, blog posts, webinars, and all of that. But what you do is, and here's your trick, is look at your team. Do you have the right team to be able to execute all these things? Sometimes the answer is no, sometimes the answer is yes. So it depends. If you have a team of one, hey, video and LinkedIn. Don't worry about all the other things.
Yeah.
You have more than that. Hey, let's look at what's your webinar strategy looking like? What does your other multimodal platforms that you can look at? Paid media budget and all that. But I'll just focus on getting that outline content strategy based upon your qualified product demos. And then look at your team and see who can execute. Do I need more? That's where we ask for more budget.
I see. Are there anything, like, do you see AI as a tool to maybe help you do more with your budget? Rather than just asking.
Yes.
I know everyone's
getting all my secrets.
getting asked to do more with less. So what is like advice that you have there?
Yes. So just between you and me. All right. No one else is listening. You take all the different tools that you have that you're looking at spending for. You have your content strategy based on qualified product demos. And then you ask your large language model, hey, here's what I'm looking at. Here's what I want to do. I want you to act as a CEO and grill me on what I should or should not do. That's different. People have been asking, all right, what can I do with this? You're asking the large language models to grill you, interview you, because you're going to have to talk to your CEO and ask for more budget. Utilizing this as your confidant, your assistant, to making sure that you're asking the right questions and having practice before you ask your CEO or your finance team for more budget. And then what I've done is figure out, all right, with these different budgets, how long is it going to take for my return of investment? And that's based upon your sales velocity, your pipeline, and all that, and plug it in there and seeing if it's right or not. The main thing is you need to know your numbers and you need to know your data. And the cleaner the data, the better. That's why I believe that more marketing folks should take off their marketing hat and put on their revenue operations. Say it with me. Write this down. Become revenue operations. I know one of my friends really loves that term.
Yeah.
It's don't get caught up in I'm the marketing person. I'm the revenue person. I bring money. And then you come in with that type of attitude and a mindset with the data to back it. Conversation's a lot easier. Guaranteed.
Well, great. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this session. If people have questions, is the best way to reach you through the QR code, LinkedIn?
I am so easy to find. Just type in my name in the browser, Kendall Matthews or kendallmatthews.com, and I'm there for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kendall. It's been great.
Got it.
Great. So next up, we will be joined by with Mason Cosby. Mason is truly an amazing speaker. He really focuses on ABM. He is the founder of Scrappy ABM. So if you're looking to really implement ABM into your company or fine tune it or do it better, like Mason's your guy. I'll go ahead and just add him in now, but he will be talking on the first step to ABM is activation and how to launch your first activation playbook in 8 weeks.
Why, hello. Thank you for the introduction, Jenny.
Yeah. Get your slides added. I mean, I'm super
Perfect.
excited for this presentation. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of great insights into how to have a better ABM strategy.
Wing hope for that. So I want to quickly reiterate something that Kendall just shared, which is, you can talk through a bunch of different strategies and a bunch of different ideas, but if you don't have the right people in place to do it, it's not going to be super effective. And I think that is what we'll actually talk through a lot today. When we think about ABM, a lot of people think about technology first. We often think about people and processes first. So this is going to be an exact playbook on how you can get the first step in ABM in motion, and then actually get right people, right processes in place, get your right foundation, and then actually think through, is this a program worth scaling? So with that, let's go ahead and dig right in. I like to make all of our sessions super tactical and super actionable. So if you want to get the most out of this session, there are a couple of things that you can do. First off, go ahead and open up your CRM, your marketing automation, or data enrichment platform in another tab. We'll come back to that here in just a moment. Additionally, if you are a pen and paper kind of person, or if you're a little bit like me and you just like to open up another Google tab, I would start to write out a quick framework that is data, distribution, destination, and direction. We'll come back to that here in a moment. I'm stealing this from my now new friend, Kyle Jepson. I met him last week at another conference. He used to have a slide that would pull up a cell phone, and he would say like, people think I'm going to tell you signature distractions, which I will in a moment. What he started recommending, and I think it's a genius idea, you are spending time here, but I can almost guarantee that you have other team members that probably have questions around ABM. So if you have questions or your team members have questions, go into the general channel in Slack or your general marketing channel or wherever you kind of live for internal comms and say, hey, I'm watching this guy talk really quickly about ABM. He may have a couple of smart things to say, maybe. What questions do you have? And I'd love to go ahead and actually not just answer your questions, but the questions of your entire team. And then lastly, information on implementation is absolutely useless. You're going to spend 30 minutes with me, and I don't want it to be a waste of your life. So go ahead and set a time block in your calendar for next week with your ops and content team, and you can actually use what you're going to learn today and make use of this time, because otherwise you're wasting your time and you should go do something else that you'll actually go and implement. With that, who is familiar with the crawl, walk, run approach? I'm going to ask that you actually engage in the comments in the chat real quick. So if you are familiar, just go ahead and say like, yes, I am. I'm going to say, all right, we got a couple people saying, yes, they are. So here's what's fun about the crawl, walk, run approach. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you know I have a beautiful little girl. She just turned 9 months old. And I'm thinking now a lot differently about crawl, walk, run. So the idea here is it comes from the idea of like raising a child and helping a child learn to run. So fun fact, for those of you that may have children or may not have had children, the average time it takes a baby to crawl from age 0 is about 7 to 10 months. So that crawl stage is like around 7 to 10 months. The next stage is generally where they learn to walk. And that happens somewhere between ages 10 months old to 18 months old. And then lastly, that run. For children, the run stage of their life where they learn to actually run is anywhere from age about 18 to 24. If you want to fact check me, go Google it right now. It's the very first search result. It is a snippet. I promise that is what Google says. I checked it right before we hopped on this. But let's say, I don't know, hypothetically, I wanted to take my 5-month-old that doesn't even know how to crawl, and let's say I wanted her to learn to run almost immediately. Like, let's say I've got 6 months to get her running. What would I go and do? I would probably go buy the absolute best running equipment. I'd get her the watch. I'd get her the headphones. I'd get her the perfect running shoes, the sunglasses. I'd ensure that she had the best equipment, because it is the equipment that makes us incredibly effective runners. So when you take my daughter plus running equipment, we will get Usain Bolt. Right? No, of course not. But when we think about building an ABM program, we often think tech first. We have to buy the right tools in order to get the right results, because if we don't have the right tools, we can't do the right things. In reality, when you get this tech first, without right foundations of learning to crawl, you're just setting money on fire. And I'm going to bring this really close to home, and this is going to be really uncomfortable for a lot of people. But like, this is why I think we're actually seeing a lot of our friends get laid off. This is why we're seeing so many budget cuts, because we've significantly invested from something that was destined to fail on the front end. And I want to give context. I'm not just saying this from the perspective of someone that's like built a business and I'm out of it. I did this since 2020. I invested in all the wrong things, and I was not set up for success. And as a result, I failed and had to transition out of an organization. I know this firsthand. This is incredibly hard. And that's why today we're going to talk about how to crawl. And nobody likes to talk about it because crawling sucks. But if you don't learn how to crawl, you can't walk, and then you can't run. So with that context, hi, I'm Mason. That photo of that daughter is not a stock image. That is my actual daughter. She clearly takes after her mom. I am a husband first, a father second, and then I also happen to run a company called Scrappy ABM. In the past 3 years, I've sourced $6.5 million in revenue that is sourced, not influenced. Like, programs that we built using a Scrappy ABM methodology have resulted in $6.5 million at an 18x ROI. So I know that this stuff works because we've lived it in a post-COVID era. And what we do as an organization, we're the only organization that builds step-by-step programs for the crawl stage of account-based marketing. We get programs started and proven out. We prove the model. Our goal is to make clients successful without us. So we only plan to work with a client for like 12 to 18 months. They'll get everything that they need from us, and then they'll offboard. And that is good. So that's who I am. That's what we do. So I always like to level set when we talk about ABM, because if you Google it, you're going to get 100 different definitions. So ABM is a B2B revenue strategy that aligns marketing, sales, and CSR in a set of shared target accounts. That is our definition for today. Who is ABM for? I'm going to rattle through this super quickly. Dedicated B2B companies with a dedicated sales team. They've got established product market fit. I'll come back to that in just a moment. An average contract value about $50,000. A sales cycle of about 90 days or longer. They have an expansion opportunity within their customer base, and they have a clear market focus for their target accounts. The asterisk on product market fit and ACV is we work with a couple of clients that have a total addressable market of 500, total addressable market of 1,000, and a total addressable market of 2,000. Their entire market is 2,000 companies total, because they're so niche and they're so specific. In that context, you shouldn't run anything but ABM. So again, that's the asterisk. It doesn't matter your ACV, because if you're that specific and that niche and that nuanced, why would you run anything else? Like, we're talking with a client that has a total addressable market of 500, talking about this big ABM program. And like, we could cold call everybody in 6 weeks. Like, we can literally reach everybody. Shifts your perspective a little bit. So again, if you're like me, our address market is massive. We build ABM programs for B2B companies. We're problem specific. Like, we need to find a clear vertical focus to build an ABM program, because we are industry agnostic in our nature, whereas there's a lot of vertical SaaS companies or a lot of vertical specific companies. So again, if you're running a vertical specific marketing program, ABM, great fit. I'm also going to be super weird as a speaker. If this doesn't match you, I want you to not waste your time with me, because you're not going to get value out of this session. This is exactly who I speak to. So if this is you, let's have a good time. If this is not, that's okay. We can still be friends. You can follow me on LinkedIn. But like, today's not your day with me, and that's okay. With that, why does ABM fail? Again, I'm super fun at parties because we talk often about why things fail. And there's 3 very clearly documented, very well-researched reasons. And if you Google it, you'll find tons of data that supports this. The number one reason is the lack of sales and marketing alignment. I'll give you a quick example. Marketing says leads, and they mean contacts generated. Sales says leads, and they mean opportunities generated. when we say the same words but mean different things. As a result, we're misaligned. So the first step to anything is figuring out what we're actually talking about and getting clear definitions. Nobody likes to make a glossary, but it's super important, because if you have conversations, you all say the same words, but you mean different things, you can't actually have a real conversation. So that's the first place. Getting aligned with sales, so you speak the same language. The next piece is the lack of dedicated resources. The worst thing that could happen today is you listen to this session and you're an executive leader and you're like, that's a genius idea. And you go back and you Slack your marketing manager tomorrow and say, we should build an ABM program. And you add it as a bullet point on their job description. And then you ask them to build an ABM program. And ABM, as a side note, is actually organizational change. You are trying to shift the way in which we go to market. And if you give that to a marketing manager, you've given them the accountability to build ABM, but not the authority to create organizational change. So if you don't dedicate the time and resources to this, it will not work. And then lastly, it is super hard to measure. Quick example, you have your ICP. So who are we going after? So you got to measure that as a part of your account score. You also want to factor in first-party engagement data to see if they know that we exist and they're aware of us. You also want to factor in third-party intent data to get outside buying signals. And you also want to weight the engagement differently based on who it is in the buying committee. Because a CMO, in my context, should be weighted differently than the marketing manager, because they have different authorities within the buying committee. That's 4 separate factors that should all be cobbled together to build up this account score to show that for our sales team, this account is red hot. They're super on fire. You got to go get them out right now. That's really hard. But that's what a lot of people think about when they go to build this account model, is how are we going to measure it? So if you don't have answers to these 3 questions, ABM is not going to work well. And my hope that after the session is you have clear answers for how to solve for these 3 things to get started. And we refer to that as an activation playbook. I think we invented this concept. I've started to see more people talk about it in theories, but like the framing of activation plays are something that I think we've made up. If I'm not correct on that and I stole it from somebody else, please tell me. But I've been talking about it for a year and a half and nobody else seems to know what I'm talking about until I define it, which activation plays are the repeatable processes for when sales or CS become involved in specific customer conversations. What that functionally means: an ICP fit account hits your website for your pricing page, your schedule a call page, and your product pages, but doesn't book a call. Specific tangible actions that then indicate to us we should probably reach out. You've also probably heard of this as like signal go-to-market. This event is hosted by Signals. So all these things are just signals. It's trigger-based go-to-market. There's 100 different ways that you can think through this. But at the core, what is the signal or the trigger that indicates to us that we should reach out in a specific way? Closed loss programs, customer win-back programs, expansion opportunities based on product usage. We were working with a client that had a customer of theirs that had 7,000% utilization of their tool. The upsell motion was so obvious, but they hadn't operationalized it to surface that information to their sales team or to their CS team. So activation playbooks are surfacing information so that we can activate on it with right messaging to right people. That's what we're going to talk through today. Why do we start here? The line between marketing and sales is super, super natural, because we're not coming to sales with the super complex, like, here's the account score, and this is the methodology for how we develop this account score. And this is why it's like, hey, they hit our product page, our pricing page, and our schedule call page, and they're the right fit customer that you've been trying to get in front of for like 3 months. You should probably reach out to them. And sales says, sounds good, thanks. And you're not passing over hundreds and hundreds of leads on a weekly basis. You're passing over probably like tens. So they're right fit, high actual intent, because they're engaged. So that's the first piece. Next piece, things are super simple. I've just explained it. And for most people, they kind of get the concept in about 10 minutes. It's not hard to understand. It's a little bit complex and hard to operationalize and actually execute. But in theory, super easy. And then lastly, you can start to transition your KPIs and your technology to actually measure in an account way, because instead of thinking from a marketing perspective about impressions and reach and specific people that actually fill out a form, we're now thinking about this audience that we wanted to go after, did our specific intended actions, and as a result, we have meetings on our calendar. It starts to transition to an account-focused approach. How it works, super simple. Identify a trigger. Ideally, you're looking at your first party data because there's a higher likelihood of brand awareness if they live in your CRM. Whereas if you're going exclusively to third party data, you have to do further education. So that journey for the buyer is much longer if you go to third party versus using first party data. So start with first party. And what this functionally means, open up your CRM, look at all of your contact properties, all of your company properties, all of your deal properties, and understand what is happening. What is the data that we're capturing as a part of our existing flows? And then as a result, how do we trigger that information to our sales team? That's a workflow with automated list segmentation. That's it. From there, you then give those lists to your sales team. This functionally looked like for one of our clients, they set a 15-minute time block every single Tuesday with their sales team to review their individual list. They were geo-specific in nature, and it just automated the list segmentation for the sellers. They were scanned the list. They each got about 100 on a weekly basis. And then they enrolled them to an outbound sequence and they followed the sequence steps. That was it. And if you think about this from a data perspective, you have the same data source every single time. So website engagement, as people continue to hit your website that are right fit people, you can run this over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. This doesn't end. This becomes a foundation for continued strategic outbound motions that actually get meetings on the calendar. So that's how this works. As far as how you should structure this, this is the 4D framework that we'll come back to. But data is the first piece. So who are we going after? And underneath data, there's two other questions you have to answer. Who are we going after? Why are we reaching out? Sales will sing hallelujah when I say this. But when you pass a lead list from an event and say, hey, these people went to our booth, maybe we should reach out. I legitimately got cold called by a company that said, hey, it looks like you went to one of our recent events. And that was as specific as they got because they probably had a list of 1,000 people from the event. And I was nowhere close to a fit. So when you actually have trigger-based approaches, you give clear reasons to reach out. So it's not just, hey, there's a right fit person that maybe did a thing somewhere in the world, but they are a right fit person that did a specific tangible action. And then also you provide templatized messaging. It's not everything. They still need to nuance it. They still need to do further research, but you give them a starting point so that they can actually go and do something with the information. That's data. Next is distribution. What are the channels and tactics we're going to use to get in front of these people? Could be social, could be email, could be cold call, could be social ads. It could be organic. Sorry, I already said social. Whoops. Could be like marketing automated emails. There's 1,000 different distribution channels. Could be Reddit, could be X, could be Facebook. Who cares? Where's your audience and how do you get in front of them? Next would be destination. What are you pushing them to? This is not, hey, let's reach out to get them to book a call. Hey, this is you've done things. You probably have gaps in your education. We're going to push you to be educated on something else. Could be a case study, could be blog content, could be a podcast, could be 1,000 things. What's the content you're going to push them to? And then lastly is direction. How are you tracking all of these things so you understand if they're doing the intended actions? That is our 4D framework for how you build these playbooks. If you want some sample ideas, website re-engagement, I'm just going to start rattling off some free tools you can start using today. So like Factor.ai, RB2B, Warmly, all three of those do website re-engagement playbooks. You could use a tool called FYIGTM that surfaces up industry-specific news. It's not intent, it's research, and it gives you context for how to use that research in your sales outreach. Everybody knows about third-party intent, so you use Bombora or G2. All of those, in my mind, are more directional signals that help you understand who might be in market. But when you marry third-party intent with first-party engagement, that is how you really get somebody in your pipeline. Another one, big fan of champion tracking. I worked at a company that sourced 30% of their revenue through champion tracking. Good friend is over at UserGen, sourced 23% of their revenue through champion tracking every single year. The idea is you follow somebody that's bought you previously to their new company. Because you have the understanding of who is leaving, you can retain that former customer, and then you can close the new customer because you've had someone that's bought your services previously or your product previously go to a new company. Huge opportunities there. The best place to start with any program is close loss because you have the best data there and nobody's loyal to that close loss pipeline. Really, the best place to start is customers, but people are loyal to their customers. They don't want to put revenue at risk with a new experiment. Whereas at close loss, you have really great data because they've already walked through a sales process and you can actually use that data to re-engage them. So huge opportunities on close loss. And then lastly, customer win-backs. We built a customer win-back program for one of our clients because they had lost customers due to lack of features, but they had made 18 product updates in 6 months. And as a result, they were able to re-engage those past customers and bring them back because they had the new features. So again, huge opportunities on customer win-backs, especially because I know thousands of companies have been really struggling with churn the past couple of years. So again, look at those that have lost and churned previously, and see if you can re-engage and bring them back. Huge opportunities there. And also in the context of a customer upsell, customers will look at your other products. So like, are you using your marketing data on your customers to see third-party intent? If they're actually showing in-market buying signals for the thing that they're using you for right now, indication that they may be churning soon. Or are they looking at your other complementary services and products to then upsell? Huge opportunities on all of those fronts. All right, so now we built this activation playbook. What comes next? I'm glad you asked. If you think about ABM in a very simplified way, there are 3 core stages. Stage 1 is marketing does stuff to engage accounts. Then stage 2 is sales and marketing get involved and actually trying to convert that deal. And then stage 3 is marketing and sales work together until the deal closes. Those are the 3 stages. The activation playbook on the prospect side of things is really your stage 2. It is how do we get sales involved in our sales process, in our ABM process. And as a result, if you can actually build that out first, and I highly, highly, highly recommend building something around website re-engagement, because if you can start there, you can actually build a full ABM program around that, because your website engagement will be things around like product page, pricing page, schedule, a call page. And as a result, then the goal from a marketing perspective is how do we drive more of our customers into those pages that are educated and actually are exploring those in a real way because they see us as a viable solution. They're problem aware, they're solution aware, and they view us as a viable solution. Then sales can get involved and you work it as a re-engagement playbook. And then from there, the goal is, now that we have an understanding of our data source, how do we actually now increase conversions post trigger? Once sales has gotten involved, do they need better case study content? Do they need better one-pagers? Do we need to build out new playbooks that involve multiple decision makers in our sales cycle? Huge opportunities here. This is where some people get a little bit cross-eyed. Here's the thought process. The prospect playbooks are often at this meaningful engagement stage. So think about meaningful engagement again, product, service, pricing, schedule, call pages. They now know that you exist. They understand your solutions, and there's a high likelihood that they might be looking at you. Now the question is, how do we get sales involved in re-engaging them to actually create a qualification call where you're qualifying based on budget and timing, not fit. That should have been assessed before the awareness stage, but on timing and budget. And then you run an opportunity cycle. That's that. Once you've now built out that process, the goal then for marketing is how do we get more of our right fit customers to know that we exist? I say this over and over and over and over and over again. Nobody wants to run an ABM awareness program, but nobody can buy from you if they don't know that you exist. So at the awareness stage, how do we make people know that we exist and get them on our website, get them on places where they can actually engage in our helpful, meaningful content? And then through those content assets, get them to places that are meaningful engagement. So huge opportunity. And once you've actually gotten them to that meaningful engagement stage, you've already built out the rest of the process and sales gets involved. And now you are just running a true ABM program. Huge opportunities if you can do this. Hey, I talked really fast. So if this has been helpful, we have a podcast that has 70 episodes already on it. And we talk about this literally twice a week. We're about to up to 3 times a week and just walking through playbooks and actionable ways that you can actually build an ABM program. So let's go ahead and talk through the build process. This is your first month because now we want to take this concept and actually give you the step-by-step on how do you actually bring this into fruition. The first step is a content and ops alignment. If you go back to that 4D framework, the first piece is understanding who we're going after and what content do we have that supports going after that audience. The goal here is not to build a content audit so you can see all your content gaps. The goal here is to build a content audit so you can understand what content do we have available to get in market as quickly as humanly possible. Once you've identified the existing audiences and the content that you can use, now you've got a clear understanding of where should we start to focus. And then you want to look at your distribution channels to understand how do we get in front of that audience. And you also want to look at the ways that you can actually track the engagement with that audience. Again, there are a ton of free fringe tools that you can use that are helpful for tracking. You can use like Sales Intel or Apollo for free to get started to get data enrichment. There's again, tons. You could use a company like Signals that helps you with that website re-engagement and that de-anonymization of your website traffic. Huge opportunities if you can actually start to do this super, super well. Once you've then identified audience, content, distribution channels, and tracking components, then the goal here is to identify within that data set, what are the opportunities that we have to then activate specific triggers. And I'll give you a quick example again. Once you've now identified all your different triggers, which again, closed loss website re-engagement, missed meeting playbooks, If you've got a podcast, huge proponent of podcast playbooks, not for the purpose of closing the guest, but actually for the purpose of turning the guest into a referral opportunity and actually trying to get the guest to send their friends your way. Huge opportunities there, customer win back programs. Again, those are just like 5 offhand that I mentioned. Event activation is a huge one that I really, really love. And going to an event, speaking on our topic, showcasing our authority, and trying to get people to actually come and work with us. So identify your triggers. And then what you want to do is get internal alignment from marketing and sales, ideally specifically sales leadership. I hate to put it this bluntly, but like you need a BDR bought in or an SDR or an AE bought in to actually do the work. But at the end of the day, to build this kind of a program, you're going to need sales leadership buy-in to make the first steps here. So get internal alignment around prioritization. So again, here are some quick ideas that most people have in some context. And then what you do is you build out a list of like, all right, this is the first one we're going to build. We're going to go build closed lost or dead no response. So like they book a call and they never showed up. We're going to build event activation. And then we've got all these tech partners. We're going to do a partner play here. Then we've got a customer play. Then we've got a competitive rip and replace. We can maybe do a different customer. And like you prioritize what are the different playbooks you want to start building. And this is like, one is like a month, because the actual build process is once you've got the content and the ops alignment, then the goal is now, how do we nuance our messaging to reach this specific audience based on this specific trigger? And operationally, how do we make all that come together from an automated list segmentation and actually getting their information into a distribution channel? Next is then building out whatever the content could be. Again, to get it easy and to get it started, this is likely going to look like an outbound sequence that repurposes your existing content assets. And operationally, you're building workflows, automated list segmentation, and the notification of your sales team to then activate on these playbooks. You want to document all of this. You want these things to be easy to understand so that if you have to make changes down the road, you know where to actually make changes versus kind of guessing and stumbling back through it. You can test everything. And then week 4, you are launching this thing and working with your sales team to actually get it launched. That is how you go from 0 to actually a playbook in market. And realistically, once you've done the first one, that's the hardest part. Operationally, you can start to clone some of your workflows, and really it's then starting to nuance content based on triggers. Once you've got the first one up and running, you can probably do a playbook a month. That's what we do with our clients. And we're getting these things out in market and stacking different playbooks on top of each other to get an account from awareness into acquisition. So again, that is the super high level. There's a lot that we tried to cover in like a 30-minute time frame. And I would love to hear your questions. And I'm already starting to see some questions from Caitlin. So I'm going to go ahead and start answering questions unless you want to pop back in. But you mentioned one of the first ways to start marketing sales alignment is using the same language and even making a glossary. What are some other small things you can do to kickstart alignment? I think this entire presentation is intended to be a sales and marketing alignment exercise, because what I just outlined is how do you build a playbook that forces marketing and sales to work together on a set of shared target accounts in an 8-week time frame. This is the fastest way that and I've tried to make ABM go faster. This is the fastest way that we found to make it work. So like if you can almost brute force a program that gets any wins, kind of the goal is that specifically around website re-engagement as an idea, if you can start to show some early wins and early success, sales will generally say something to the extent of like, this was freaking awesome. How do we do more of this? So now you're aligned from the front end. And if you go look at the data behind why ABM fails, one of the reason number 4 that it fails is actually meeting up with the demands of sales. So once you've gotten buy-in to go and do it, sales will then come back to you over and over and over and over and over again to try to get more out of you. And I'd rather live there than in like, I'm not going to touch what you do. It's a waste of our time. So again, getting an early quick win through closed loss programs, through website re-engagement, through customer win backs, using your existing data to then prove out that win is the easiest and fastest way to get that alignment with sales. Great question. Any other questions?
I had some questions. So you kind of break out like what you can get done in a month. How large of a team do you need to really execute these ABM strategies?
It's a great question. So as you look at this team, you need somebody that can own strategy, somebody that can own operations, somebody that can own content. And I'm very clear when I say somebody, when I was doing this often, operationally, this is not super complex ops work. Like this is often building a workflow in HubSpot. This is often figuring out like the filtering criteria for an active list. And then like working with your sales team to set a recurring meeting on the calendar. So like operationally, it's ops work. That's not crazy ops work. So like I used to do this by myself. Again, it's the context Scrappy ABM. We have strategy, content, operations. And then also for some of our more complex stuff, like you probably need somebody that's more of an account manager or a project manager that can kind of herd all the cats. But like if you have those three roles, and again, those three roles could be one person, then you're actually able to go and build these programs pretty quick.
I think that makes a lot of sense. You did say that it can take a lot of time, and you say that usually with customers, it takes around 12 months.
Let me clarify. We work with customers for 12 months to build a variety of playbooks. One playbook does not take 12 months. So again, to break it back down, if you just think about close lost, you already have the buying committee involved because they were involved in the sales cycle. So you already have their contact information. You may need to enrich some of it based on people moving jobs. You already have their initial reason why they came in the first place. You likely, hopefully, have done some form of like close loss reason of like, we know why we didn't win the deal. And it may be no response. Like that's fine. It means you didn't build enough value. You have a lot of data there that you can then re-engage these accounts around. So the question is just like, how do we cohort our close loss into specific close loss reasons and ICP fits? And then we've got a specific vertical program that we can now go and run. That if you've got half decent data, and that's a big if sometimes, but if you have half decent data, that's like half a day of like really sitting down. And it's intentional focus work. Like you have to set aside the time. But like if you really focused on this, you could build this out in 4 weeks.
Love it. I would love for people to give it a try and then share your stories on LinkedIn and maybe tag Mason in it. And this is really cool and awesome. Thank you so much. If people want to reach you, is the best way just to hit you up on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, email is mason@scrappyabm.com. And again, podcast is Scrappy ABM. So if you just Google Scrappy ABM, my dumb face should show up just about everywhere.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Mason. It's been a joy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. So that concludes the Demand Gen Summit. A few reminders, all the presentations will be available on demand at demandgensummit.com, or you can find us on YouTube or LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this event and want to attend a future event, our next event will be on August 14th, and it's focused around AI. It's our AI Revenue Summit, really focused on helping sales and marketing leaders know how to leverage AI in their current systems. And then finally, if you guys are wanting to just get more content, we do have an ebook that is available on the Demand Gen Summit website. Any feedback you guys would like to provide on the event, please feel free to reach out to Signals on LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us today.